Welcome, hello, friends and fellow adventurers. Welcome back to Level 1 Adventuring. I am your host and Dungeon Master Wolfe Scott. Before I get too deep into what we're doing tonight, I'm going to quickly take a look at my audio properties because I realized I didn't check that before we started. Okay, we're fine, we're good, baby, we did it. Perfect. And I will now put on my performance mode for now. Hello, and once again, I am your host and Dungeon Master, Wolfe Scott. Who am I? I am your stream leader, your fearless storyteller for this channel, which is Level 1 Adventuring, and I'm noticing as usual that my glasses are a little dirty. What is Level 1 Adventuring? We are a YouTube channel and Twitch stream, so you're watching us on one of those two platforms right now. And we do things related to role-playing games, both tabletop and video. When it comes to tabletop stuff, we do solo RPGs, group RPGs, indie RPGs, big-name RPGs. We have a Dungeons & Dragons stream. Wow, it's hard to say Dungeons & Dragons stream that runs semi-regularly on here, as well as a variety of solo RPGs, both by like indie developers. We've been having a really great time with Firelights by Fari RPGs right now. And we also are going to be running some other RPGs, some solo stuff that is a little bigger in name, which is tonight. That is going to be the Cypher System by Monty Cook, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But before I do, shout out to all of our socials. If you're not already following us here, please throw us a like, a follow. We're on Twitch, a follow. On YouTube, please throw us a subscribe. We're trying to build our platform there. And if you want to join the Disco, I highly recommend you do. It's where we chat, where I post updates about when the streams are going live. It's also a place where we're going to be playing some play-by-post games together as a community very soon, so it's very exciting. Shout out to StreamLabs and StreamSpell, which generated a bunch of the very fun and fancy visual effects that you saw when you joined the stream. And if you want some of your own, you can go to the description box down below in the About section and use our links, and that helps you and us. Normally I would be running some music right now and I would be thanking Tabletop Audio, but like in our past Firelight stream, I've noticed that when I run the audio through Tabletop Audio, which I love, by the way, they're great, a great free resource if you need music for your games. It for some reason it gets like grainy and a little crackly when it's been running on repeat for a little while. So I'm looking for a new solution there, but still shout out to that service because they're great and I've loved them for a long time. And is there anything else that I have to shout out? I don't think so. Oh, actually, you know what? I will shout out community member Nar. Community member Nar first messaged me on YouTube and then joined the Disco about this very game. Because, strangely enough, this game, the Cypher System, the Numenera Cypher System that I ran, the beginning storyline of it, is one of our most watched videos on our channel, like month over month, even though there's only been one session of it ever. And I think that's a testament to how many people are interested in the Cypher System but don't know too much about it, right? And so Nar actually messaged me not too long ago and said, hey, this was really cool. I liked this game and this setting a lot. When's the next one? And I haven't run it in months, and I'm like, wow, you're right. I really put that down. So shout out to Nar, who inspired me to pick this game back up, because I do actually love the Cypher System. I'm very new to it myself. This is only the second time I've been running it, and I've only run it for myself. But as a long-time D&D dungeon master who's run everything from like 3 to 4, a little bit of Pathfinder, and now 5, 5th edition D&D, mostly, you know, in that realm, I love the simplicity of the mechanics. It's very low prep. It's not low crunch. There is still a decent amount of like numbers and mechanics at play, but in sort of like the raw stuff that you have to know and prepare ahead of time is a lot less, which is very handy for very busy people who are also dungeon masters. So yes, thank you. Shout out to Nar. And I hope you enjoy this episode, and I hope we have more. So what are we actually going to be running? Let me switch into our solo stream. Great, solo stream setup is on, and everything looks good so far. I'll put it back on performance mode. So we're going to be looking at the Cypher System. So what is the Cypher System? The Cypher System is a game system developed by Monty Cook. It is setting agnostic. So it is designed to be played in any realm you want. If you want a fantasy game, a sci-fi game, a zombie apocalypse game, a super spy game, whatever you want, it all works for that. And it's kind of built off of this idea that you have three main stats: might, speed, and intellect, which then spreads out into all these different types of skills, and it's very free form. And while there are certain things that about your characters that are kind of set in stone, certain abilities and powers and whatnot that you can build and take as you level up, a lot of it is up to sort of interpretation and calls on the fly, especially the what do you call it? The challenge system. There we go. So this is not the official rulebook, by the way. This is a cheat sheet that was made by Justin Alexander of the Alexandrian. But you can see right here, the entire game pretty much runs on the idea that you just roll a d20 and see if you can beat one of these numbers. And you can see the system is kind of ingeniously designed that if you just rolled a d20, it would be impossible to hit like anything above a 20, right? 21, 24, 27, 30. But your character sort of has powers or innate abilities that will lower the difficulty classes of rolls to help you beat those numbers. And that's kind of how the whole system kind of operates. So you can essentially look at anything in the game and assign it a number, in raw difficulty, and like a whole enemy, right, can just be a series of difficulty levels, and you're done. So in terms of prep, it's like very reactive. It's very like based off of your dungeon masters and your shared creativity, which I love in terms of just system operation in general. But specifically, because you're like, well, if you can use the game system for anything, what do you play? And that is where we talk about this right here, Numenera. So Numenera is the setting that Monty Cook had kind of... I don't know if it was the first setting that Monty Cook developed for the Cypher System, or if it is just one of the many. But it is sort of, I would say, their flagship setting for the system. And it is this sort of sci-fantasy setting. It's about this idea, wherein our world as we know it is now called the Ninth World. And it is so named because we are so far in the future that at least 9 times over, civilization has risen and fallen, and technology has advanced and collapsed, and our world is so foreign and alien to what we would understand it as. We've like terraformed it, we've manipulated its gravity, we've done all this stuff, but the people who have developed those technologies are long gone. We've been here for how many iterations of our world, right? And so our understanding of these ancient and powerful technologies that we've developed to a certain point is sort of like arcane knowledge. So magic in this world is almost synonymous with technology, right? And there is sort of a lot of things that blur the lines between the two. There's this idea that, nano machines embed almost everything, and people who can manipulate Numenera, which is the name of the technology, can like manipulate these nanites, or the data sphere, which is like a super internet that lays atop of our atmosphere, right, can be tapped into for knowledge and like special effect. And so it kind of blurs the line between technology and magic in a very interesting way. It is, I'd say, the premier system for the Cypher System, setting for the Cypher System. It's really hard to distinguish setting and system when you're using those words interchangeably so often back and forth. But it is very cool. I'm a big fan, and is the whole reason why I wanted to try playing Cypher System in the first place. Was I loved the idea of this like world that was it feels fantasy. If you read through the book, the world even structures itself sort of like in the almost like a feudal kind of, there's sages and kings and queens and all this stuff. But at the core of it, instead of like dragons and trolls, there's like things that were once aliens and robots and people who have been like genetically modified. It's just very interesting stuff to play with. It's also very weird, which I like. It really leans into the weirdness of fantasy and sci-fi, and it wants to sort of toy with these more abstract or like kind of pushing the boundaries of our perceptions of like beings and magic, which is very fun. And I think Monty Cook actually put out a Kickstarter for a new supplement called The Weird, which I did back, and I'm waiting to have them send me it because I think it's going to be very useful for a playthrough like this, where it's just a whole bunch of random tables about like how do we push the weirdness, how do we make this even stranger, which I think will be really fun. So another question that you may be asking yourself is, well, is the Cypher System a solo game? And the answer is no. The Cypher System is actually meant to be played like traditional, I shouldn't say traditional D&D because D&D is not the only role-playing game, but, we often boil it down as if it is like a traditional role-playing game where there's sort of like a game master or a dungeon master and then a collection of friends and fellow storytellers that are going through the story. However, with some additional tools, like, and I have to look at my secondary monitor here, the MYTHIC GM Emulator. This is a PDF I bought on DriveThruRPG, I think. I think this is it right here. Yes. This is actually the second edition, which I've not read all the way through. I'm still going to be using the rules for the first edition. But this document right here actually creates systems by which a single person can use like the prompts generated from this document to act as like a surrogate dungeon master if they wanted to run solo games, right? And so this would normally be very difficult in a game that is very high prep like D&D, even if you'd want to play D&D solo, right? Because it's kind of, you have like monster stat blocks and things of that nature, traps and all this stuff that need to kind of be set up ahead of time so you know how the mechanics work. But for something like Numenera, where anything and everything can be assigned a difficulty number, and then you just roll and figure it out, it's a lot more straightforward. And so I'm going to be using tools like the MYTHIC GM Emulator and the Universal NPC Emulator. And this was made by, this is a different PDF. This was made by Zach Best, the Universal NPC Emulator. This will help us create some NPCs on the fly. And then, have some storytelling prompts between there, hopefully. So yeah, that's how we kind of ran the first session. This is going to be a slow session. It might be a short session because I have to reacquaint myself with how this works. It's been a little while, but I am excited to give it another shot. So that all being said, what happened session 1? If you weren't here, I'll try to be, snappy about it. Let me go. I guess I'll go from here. So we were introduced to our protagonist, Jaizen Kovi. I haven't decided yet who's the very blue-eyed gentleman that you're staring at right here. So Jaizen Kovi was born in this place called Outpost Masai, which is sort of like this technological scientific research center that's in the middle of a grand desert known as the Witherlands, which I have this art right here generated by Dali to represent a lot of this stuff. Jaizen is a delve. That's his character class, which in the world of Numenera are like, they are explorers, they are treasure hunters, they literally delve into unknown places to find these ancient, magical, arcane, also technological wonders, right? That's like their purpose. He lives out in this weird desert called the Witherlands, where all of these plants seem to grow in the shape and like they replicate the bodies of like living husks of like dead animals. So it's like this really weird, creepy place. But he lives in Outpost Masai, which is the only research center, only one of the biggest living areas out in this desert that has like real life. And that you can see there's this big tree that is growing here, this big alien plant that produces this fruit that when people eat it, it kind of imbues their mind with like powerful clair well, I should say just clairvoyance, yes. Where they can like see remote viewing, like almost like future sight for brief limited amounts of time. So the outpost is kind of built around trying to discover and like figure out more about this. But Jaizen, of course, is not satisfied with just staying home and trying to look at this tree with his dad. We have a bunch of different NPCs that we generated ahead of time. With his dad, Dalray, has a whole family here, which we won't go into detail too much, but we should know that he lives with his father. He is interested in doing what a delve does, going out into the wilderness, discovering new artifacts and things that are valuable to the people that could be like of scientific research value. And he does that with a best friend named Devlin Atlar, this guy right here. But Devlin is a little bit rougher and tougher than Jaizen, and kind of gets Jaizen into a lot of scrapes and trouble. And together, but like, you know, brotherly love, but it kind of drags him into a whole bunch of bad stuff. But the two of them actually were looking at this thing called the Gazing Gate, right? Which is this black obelisk that lays suspended between a canyon. That sort of has this mirrored eye-like bead that's like in its center, massive in size, and it watches people as they like pass through the ravine, but it's never done anything for like hundreds and thousands of years. People have tried to study it, they don't know what it does. But Jaizen one day thinks that he's cracked the code, he knows how to interact with it, and so of course he takes Devlin to try and discover and figure this out. And they do figure it out. And what basically happens is the Gazing Gate, like there's a flash of light and it teleports them, it whisks them away into some place unknown, right? And where it actually teleports them is, you know, they were pretty much out in the desert in these canyons and these like arid dunes. They wake up, they flash of light, and here they are in this subterranean glacial factory of unknown technological advancement, you know, this big mysterious place. And Devlin and Jaizen poke around, and they eventually find, I don't know if I generated art for it, but they sort of see this artifact, this like cube, like mechanical cube like artifact, which is generating like a lot of energy and like you know, intrigue. And so Devlin, of course, goes to pick it up, and it's a very, like, Aladdin, touch nothing but the lamp moment, and, like, spoiler alert for Aladdin if you've been sleeping for, I don't know, how old is that movie, 30-odd years? Touches the cube, takes it, and the whole place starts going haywire, right? And the place is coming down on their heads, and Devlin and Jaizen are trying to escape, but these like tubes that are in this room that are like pumping all this material explode and like leak this sort of liquid metal all around, and Jaizen's trying to like swim through it and get to Devlin, who's at the exit, and he reaches out to Devlin to try and say like, you know, pull me out, like save me, and Devlin ditches Jaizen, leaves him to die in like this liquid metal chemical to escape with the cube, the mysterious powerful cube. And that would be the presumed end of Jaizen, but little does Devlin, Jaizen, anyone know that Jaizen survives this, which is one of the reasons why he has these big creepy eyes, because what he actually ends up sort of ingesting during this whole thing is a type of Numeneran artifact that's literally called silver ichor. It's like an intelligent liquid metal that if it enters your body, it can bond with it, and it gives you all these strange like mutagenic powers. You can like resist disease and poison and heat and cold, and you can have like inherent armor, and it kind of like connects your body to like the data sphere. So pretty much is like converted like him into this sort of like living cybernetic marvel. Which is, you know, why he has these like weird glowing blue, like semi-mechanical eyes now. And that would be great if, you know, that just happened to him and he was able to walk around freely. But unfortunately, when Jaizen wakes up from what he believes to be drowning in this chemical and dying, he realizes that he's not alone. And what he actually ends up discovering is that he is strapped to a table somewhere in the frozen factory, being observed, monitored, and possibly experimented on by these robotic beings. And Jaizen, of course, doesn't know what they are named per se, but they have referred to themselves as what remains. So whatever remains of this abandoned factory. And what remains... basically Jaizen woke up, found out he was being monitored. These things started questioning him about where the automometrics went, which, you know, Jaizen has no idea what that word is, but is fairly sure that it's something that was stolen very recently, and also wants to know what they're doing with him, but they're not answering, and, you know, it's a very dire situation. Basically, Jaizen breaks out, sneaks around, destroys a couple of these what's remains beings to try and find a way out, and eventually gets to a data room where he can get to a computer, and he's pretty handy with computers, and manages to figure out that there's like a map. He kind of downloads a map of the area to help him better navigate through the zone. And figures out that there is another way out of the frozen factory. There is like a teleporter system that is online, but the teleporters themselves, it isn't one way. The Jaizen Gate, if I'm not mistaken, I can be making this up, but if I'm making it up now, it's canon. But it's been a while since I've recollected that last episode. That the Jaizen Gate is not the only such point of entry or exit from the frozen factory, and so Devlin has presumably escaped, but Jaizen doesn't know if Devlin has tried to escape back into the Witherlands, somewhere else. You know, there's a lot of questions right now, but basically Devlin's main question is like, well, how do I get out of here? Because I need to get out of here. But something else had happened to Jaizen on the way as well. Jaizen got into a fight with one of the robots in a weird sort of factory room that was sorting through a bunch of debris, both chemical, mechanical, and biomechanical and biomaterial. And it seemed to be sorting a bunch of the refuse to be dumped outside of the factory, into the snow down this huge chasm, right? And through our fight with what remains, we end up messing with this conveyor belt system, and we end up messing up a bunch of the sorting apparati, and it dumps down to the chasm, and suddenly there is this big rumble and grumble from underneath the ice, and then something stirs beneath it, and this massive figure crawls its way up out of the snow. And we are confronted face to face with this massive being known as we called it the Glaciopod. So it's kind of like this massive Arctic centipede, alien, sarlacc kind of situation. So big and spooky. And it is not inherently trying to attack us yet, but it is awake, and it dug back under the earth, and now the entire frozen factory is oh hey Nar, good to see you live for the first time. Good to have you here. I was just talking about you since we are running the Cypher System, so I'm happy to have you here. So yes, hello. So yeah, the Glaciopod is awake. It is tunneling about. Now that I'm thinking about our Firelights playthrough, we have a lot of giant worm creatures in our games. It was unintentional, but we do. But now the Glaciopod is up and awake. Apparently, they were satisfying it with some feed, but that is no longer the situation. So we'll see if that comes into play later. Hopefully not. But the factory is definitely on high alert, and we need to figure out how we are getting out of there. I should also mention, Nar, and anybody who's watching, the Cypher System runs on a very unique experience point mechanic, where you're not really given experience points for like killing monsters or things like that. You are pretty much granted experience for discovering things, story beats and locations and special items, and through trial and tribulation. So typically, like if a character rolls a 1, like a DM would then force upon them a DM intrusion, which like gives them a story twist but extra experience. Like there's this whole system behind it. But since I'm playing by myself, I want to empower the audience to be a part of the storytelling journey. And so I believe I have the command set up that if you... No, Nari didn't say anything. I was just going through a little recap of what happened last time. So you are right on time. I believe I should have it set up so if you hit exclamation point INTRU, right, in true, yeah, it'll give you the instructions for how the audience can use DM intrusions. So there is a what do you call it? A little point reward thing that you can redeem for the stream if you save up enough points, and if you use it and you redeem it, you can actually like choose a moment in the story where you want to inflict a DM intrusion upon me, and like a suggestion for a twist in the narrative in the plot, right? And so then I, as the character, have the option to either accept that plot twist and the XP that comes with it, right? I get to take that for my character to hopefully level up later. Or if I think it is too intense or I don't have the stats right now to deal with it, I can actually spend an XP to refute it, right? I will try my best not to refute audience suggestions, but I think it will depend on how close Jaizen is to death, right? Like, it's not going to be fun if Jaizen just dies straight up. But there is a system in place for that if you want to be involved in the sort of storytelling aspect of the narrative, right? But that is where we left off. Oh, okay. So that's one thing too. I downloaded. Well, I didn't download. I re-examined the challenge ratings for a lot of the creatures. Actually, no. I still. Maybe not. I researched a bunch of the challenge ratings for the current creatures. I sort of readjusted my own expectations. I initially said that the What Remains sounded like a level 4 enemy. But I now am kind of perceiving them to be more as a challenge rating 3 enemy. However, in groups, they may become challenge rating 4. We also said they have slightly lower speed tasks, but slightly higher intellect tasks. So I will reflect that in their stat pool appropriately. But also, Jaizen, one of the things that Jaizen did last session was actually spent some inspiration. This is a cool system too. You can actually spend XP to buy benefits as well as character advancements. And so we bought a long-term benefit where we downloaded information about the drones, the What Remains, from the mainframe of the factory. So now we actually have advantage on them. We actually, all checks made involving the Numenera and Remnant drones, known as What Remains, are eased, quote unquote. So they are a step easier for us, which is going to be great. So yeah, that's pretty much where we left off. So we want to get back into the thick of it, and I have to remind myself how this whole thing works. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to look back at our campaign sessions. Session 1. Oh, we're in session 2 now. Yeah, the last thing we saw was the glaciopod rise from the pit, open up its jagged, icy maw, release a gut-churning roar into the frozen sky, and then bury its way back into the ground as like the ice shakes and the entire facility rumbles with its strength, and you start hearing like, Ruga, Ruga. There's probably like red flashing lights that are like spinning above the heads of all of the remnants and Jaizen, who is currently in hideout in the conveyor belt room. And there's probably, I imagine, unintelligible alien dialects which are firing off over the speaker, which we can only assume is some level of warning or preparation or motivating some sort of defenses against the glaciopod. And I can even imagine, because if I remember correctly, the room that we were in, sort of had this big glass, well, it probably wouldn't be true glass in this world, probably a material that is far more advanced than glass, but, serves the same purpose, it's see-through and protective. It also, if I recall correctly, I think a natural 1 is a result in a free GM intrusion, yes. But since you're playing solo, I can definitely see why you'd opt to have yes. So I wanted to do both, Nar. You are right. If a natural 1 pops up, which, I'm sure it will, I will. There is actually a system in the GM solo guide, the solo GM playbook that I have, where I can generate plot twists, right? So I think if I roll a 1, I can use that tool to sort of force a plot twist on myself. It might not be as severe as maybe a real person or a GM will make, but at least it will keep me on my toes, and I can take those intrusions. But yes, you are right. It is both a natural 1 that will generate experience points, as well as forced GM intrusions. And so, yeah, I imagine that even through the see-through, glass, what would I want to call it? Maybe flexiglass, or I don't know, some sort of made up super science term. There is there's sort of a sound of some sort of machine whirring to life, and you see boom, and there is a faint translucent film of a soft glowing blue light, it a few inches off from the glass, sort of there's a force field that has been erected around the outer shell of the facility to hopefully turn away or at least resist the might of the glaciopod should it turn its bulk against the body of our current prison. But okay, so I think what we want to do, though, and this is something I decided in between the session and the last session, because I'm looking at Jaizen's bonds, flaws, ideals, the personality that I generated for him, and yes, it is true. Nar says, yes, the random events of Mythic. By the way, are you using Mythic first or second? Good question, Mythic. I talked about this briefly. So I downloaded the second edition. I have it downloaded right now, but I've not read it all the way through. So I still am going to be fudging my way through the first edition right now because I have it saved to my my OneNote right here. But hopefully this weekend, when I have a bit more time to really dig into Mythic GM2, I will port all of the new rules over and use that instead. Because I did see that second got released and I did download it. But I have not done my due diligence of entirely understanding yet. So there is that. But let's see here. Part of Jaizen's personality is that, he's a delve, right? He's obsessed with discovery and ancient knowledge and the Numenera, and he is in a factory that, as far as he knows, that produces or had once produced Numeneran technology. So I think this may be a case of curiosity kills the cat, where yes, he has downloaded a map of the facility, and yes, that means he does have a better idea of where the nearest sort of exit gate would be to help him escape. But this may be also the only opportunity that he has to actually take with him an artifact of some significance when it comes to Numeneran, discovery and history. And I don't think he can let it go. I think that is sort of our fatal flaw, because every character's got to have one. And so I think Jaizen, sitting there, he's just watched the glaciopod bury itself back into the ice. The shield generators whir to life on the front of the facility, and he is still he was actually going to the conveyor belt area to find all of his items that were taken from him because he woke up pretty much naked. So this is him getting his gear back together, getting his gear back on. Oh, Loki, good to see you. You only live once, my friend. Yeah, that's true. And Jaizen, this may be Jaizen's only chance. This might be the last chance we see Jaizen living. So I think this is like his moment where he is taking the opportunity of what remains, being incredibly distracted, attending to the defense mechanisms of the facility, and it gives us a moment to like tap into the map and like the schematics that we have downloaded into our heads to try and see if we can get away with taking a little something for ourselves. So I'm going to go to session 2. I'm going to start a new, so I'm going to say treasure hunt. It's going to be our new current objective here. Let's go back here. So session 1. Also, don't forget to see if your scene is altered or interrupted. Yes, thank you for that. Absolutely is what I want to do. So I'm going to go to... I'm trying to see what I did before. So I set the scene tone is what I normally did first, it looks like, for myself. So I think that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go to GM Emulator. Okay. So let's see. I'm trying to sneak. Chart random events. I think... Oh, and the chaos factor did go up. I have it marked as a 6 right now. So you have your scene set up, but don't jump into the scene just yet. My chaos factor is currently 6 as far as my notes. I actually took a running tally of it, which is very surprising for me. But yeah, you can see session here. I said +1, -1, +1. So if we started at 5, it'd be 6, then 5, then 6 again, which should mean that is still currently correct. Chaos factor 6. So we do know that we are going to attempt to find some sort of room that may be containing a vault or some sort of Numeneran treasure. So you've got your scene set up, but don't jump into the scene just yet. After your scene has been floated, it's time to see if that idea is modified. Roll a 1d10. Okay, I can do that. 4. If you roll a chaos factor or less, then the scene is modified. Okay, so this is modified. When you modify a scene, you get a value within the chaos factor. Then the scene is set up. That you come up with will be changed. It will either be a variation you've already come up with, or will be an entirely different scene. If I rolled an odd value, okay, which I did not, it's an interrupt. Okay, oh no! An interrupt, given what's happened with the glaciopod. Oh, this is not looking good for us. Okay. Something entirely happens. Treat as a random event. Okay, so then we go back to the random event table, right? Okay, so there's a chance that maybe something not entirely terrible will happen to us. Okay. Most common type random event. When a question is asked if a chart, there's possibility of random event happening. Yes, which we know. Roll a D100 can do. Hey, Ecstasy K, good to see you. I was just about to read the line, if a double is rolled, and then I roll an 88. So I don't know if you've cursed us or if you've blessed us, Ecstasy. We're gonna find out. If a double number is obtained, which it just was, then a random event may have occurred. If this number is a single digit, like 1, 1, 2, 2, is equal to or less than the chaos factor, then, for instance, okay. So this is interesting. It said, I guess normally, if I'm reading this correctly, if a double number is obtained, it's not from a nat 1, Nar says, so it's not inherently bad. Yes, I think you are correct in that. What are the chances, Ecstasy says? Well, apparently, you are the defining factor. We'll find out. If it is equal to or less than the chaos factor, so this is more than the chaos factor. It says something random happens, but also this already told me that something random happens. So I guess the random thing supersedes it, right? Like the fact that I think normally I'd have to roll to see if it was random, but because I got an interrupt, it forces a random thing to happen. That's what it sounds like to me. Because otherwise, if I rolled for a random, it wouldn't have happened right now. But the interrupt is telling me it did. So I think that makes sense. So I'm going to take the 88 then as face value for the event focus. So the 88 is NPC negative. Oh boy. Everything is just leading. This is just leading me to sound like it's the worst possible outcome. But you know, why not? Why not just continue to read as though we don't know? NPC action, an existing. Oh, did I not write down what it means? Oh no, I did. I'm smarter than I look sometimes. Sometimes good or bad happens with player character or non-player character. Oh no, you're good. It's not within your chaos factor only when you ask a fake question and roll a double within the chaos factor. Okay, so you're saying if, even though we got an interrupt, because the scene got an interrupt, and it says something entirely different happens, roll a random event. Treat as a random event. But if I rolled the random event and I didn't get one, then it doesn't happen. Is that what I'm understanding correctly? I think so. Still learning this system. What I will do in the meantime is roll an idea for what the current scene is going to be happening here. So I'm going to roll 2 D100s. I got 71 and 81, which is trick. Trick of victory. Why does everything sound so terrible? A trick of victory. Okay. So you won't get a random event when getting a random event. Hilarious. Okay. Love that. Love that for us. I mean, what I got here was the trick of victory, which still sounds terrible. But I guess if it doesn't make it even worse, I'm fine with that. Okay, so what I am hearing from the trick of victory, in my mind, so you'll still get one random event, but not two. LOL. Okay, that's fair. Okay, so then there's a couple notes that I'm going to have to make here because there's a lot going on. So if I go to my campaign sessions, this is session 2. So the theme of this area is the trick of victory. We got a random event, which was NPC negative. Okay. And I guess what we should first do... One thing I am going to do, we're going to set this scene up right here. So we know that we have a random event, which is NPC negative. We know it is a trick of victory in a treasure hunt, which is like a Numeneran vault, right? So I'm setting all this up right here. But I do think I would be doing myself a disservice if I did not, see if perhaps... Because now the facility is on high alert, right? So the chance that we may be able to be seen by some of what remains, I think, is fairly high. And I think, to do the story justice, we should probably try and see if that is the case. All right, so... I didn't roll for the NPC yet, Nar, to answer your question, because... I think I want to see if we get caught out in the open by the what remains yet, the drones yet. And then once we get into that actual scene, so this is our bridge scene, this is us getting from point A to point B, then I will roll that. So I guess I want to make this a speed roll because I'm sneaking, and I want to do this against what remains. Now, what remains, they take their intelligence tasks as 3, but because we downloaded their knowledge, right? We downloaded the understanding of their schematics and how they operate, we treat them as a challenge rating lower, right? Although I will say there's probably a gaggle of them, right? It probably makes sense that there's multiple ones. Which, if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to enemies, I'm doing the Halo again. Multiple enemies, you can treat them as one level higher. Okay, so they're essentially operating as a 4, I would say. 4, 5. Okay, so then back down to 4. Okay, so I have to beat a 12 with my speed roll. And is there any other bonus I can apply to my speed before I risk this? I don't have any edge. I don't think I have any. All my bonuses are like smart boy stuff. Machinery, investigation. I'm bad at perception. I think this is just going to be straight up. I could spend 3 speed points. I think it's worth it to not get seen again. Because if I spend 3 of my speed points right here, spend 3 points from stat pool, I can get a point of effort, which reduces it 1 step further. Makes it 1 step easier. So if the enemies were operating 4, 3, so now they're operating at a 3, we'll just have to roll a 9. A 9 out of a d20. That seems pretty good. Famous last words. Woo! Okay. I will take it. Now I feel dumb for using the effort, but I mean, like, hey, I'd rather risk it for the biscuit. Double checking on that. We got a 9. Requires full attention. Most people have a 50% chance to succeed. Yeah, that sounds about right. Also, special rolls. If you get a 17 or higher. Nar says yes. Also, don't forget to subtract your edge from the cost if you have any in speed. I think speed is the one stat I actually don't have edge in, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm a smart boy, and because of my metal endoskeleton, I'm kind of a strong boy. But I need to be better about my fast boy. My fast boy needs work. But thank you. Yes, the edge will come into play eventually. I rolled a 17, which I guess would only give me a special effect if I was in combat. So, unfortunate that it goes there, but, it's still a success. Alright, so then what we'll say is, with that, there's the red lights, there's alien language being blared over the loudspeakers. You can hear the distant roars and grumbles of the glaciopod as it digs underneath the facility. And, Jaizen is just put back on his gear, found all of his spelunking gear, his night, he has night shift goggles, he has his weapon, his main thing is he has this big, so because, he works as like a scientist and a spelunker, his weapon is actually sort of like this giant modified like nail gun, which is called the perforator, right? It's pretty much just like a light rifle, but it just shoots like superheated spikes. Which he did not have for a while. Now it's back in his arms. And you can see he's probably like has his back up against like one of the, the open gateways in between this room and the hallway. And, has his like ear up against like right around where it bleeds into the next room, and he can hear the sort of plunking mechanical footfalls, these like spider-like legs of what remains, like going down the hallway. And there's like a moment where he's about to turn, and then you hear like and like there's maybe a couple of like 2 or 3 which are like spider crab walking their way down the hallway. They're like bodies, these big cones spinning in places. They're like maneuvering down the hallway looking for the escaped intruder, and then we like sort of put our back up against the wall at the right moment as like their eye line like scans the hallway, and then they continue on their way, and we break free in the opposite direction as we sort of like in our mind's eye, our glowing sort of now biomechanical eyes, we almost have like a heads-up display, of like the map that we've sort of downloaded, the partial map. I can't say that we have the entire facility map, but at least the pertinent floors that are relevant to us now. And we're sort of following our way towards where we think there will be a high concentration of Numeneran materials. And we have so far evaded our captors, but for how long? Okay, so that means now we have officially entered our scene. Campaign session. I'm gonna make a note here with a star. Successfully evaded. Hey, Ailing, good to see you. Come to join us for some solo Cypher RPG. The NPC the NPC negative. Okay, well, out of the frying pan and into the fryer, as we evade our robots and figure out what happens to us next. So we do, like Nar had pointed out, we do have to roll for what NPCs the event has to do with. Now, this is going to be weird because a lot of our NPCs have nothing to do with with this world, with where we're at right now. But I guess that's kind of the challenge, right? I'm going to add that the Glaciopod is one of our current NPCs, a giant alien monster. And we'll see if this yields us any results. I'm going to go to dice. I'm going to roll a... Oh, boy. I'm so nervous about what this is going to be. Big roll coming. Oh, Toddy! Good to see you, too. Wow, look at all my friends in the chat. I just realized Jaizen is a hybrid of a T-1000. Yeah, kinda. I think it was my friend Alex who came into the first stream who was like, oh, so you're playing like a Terminator plus Indiana Jones plus like Wolverine. And I was like, yeah, sure. Absolutely. That's what Jaizen is. Okay, so I'm going to roll a D12 and hold my breath. It is a 1, which is Devlin, which is our rival. Oh, wowie zowie. So something bad happens to Devlin? I have to reread NPC negative because now that is going to be... That might be really interesting. I mean, it's going to be interesting no matter what, but it could be really bad. Campaign sessions. GM Emulator. I need to figure out... There we go. I felt it would be a big roll. Yeah, Toddy, you called it. If there is more than one player NPC, then randomly determine who the subject is. The event, meaning, will help to determine what happens, although logical ideas should be springing to mind. These can be major or minor events. This can be a very vague focus, so you'll have to rely much upon the context and the event meaning. Okay, so what I'm going to do... I mean, Devlin could have gotten caught, although that would have means they... I think I asked them if Devlin was still in the facility, and I guess they didn't outright give me an answer. They would have no reason to give me an answer, right? Presumably. Oh, wait. You'll need to see my rent notes. But they're... maybe... Okay. What I'm gonna do... I'm gonna let the system give me an idea. Give me some inspiration here. Oh my god, Devlin. What's happening with Devlin? A 95 and a 63. So 95 is punish. Oh no! Oh no, Devlin. Oh no, Devlin. Punish power. Punish power. I mean, yeah, it kind of sounds like they're punishing him for taking this item, the atomometrics. Oh gosh. Oh boy. Oh no. Okay. So we're gonna go back to the campaign sessions. NPC negative. What if he's being interrogated? That could be it. All right. So we are saying punish power is the theme of the event. NPC is Devlin. Okay. So maybe he doesn't have it and they want to know where it is. That's good. I like that. Okay. So let's set our scene here. We sneak our way out of sight from the What Remains drones, which are in the hallway, and we are following our little heads-up display, which is being downloaded into our brain. We're trying to find our way, to presumably an area which is going to hold a great deal of Numeneran bounty, because we can't help ourselves. That is unfortunately our fatal flaw. And as we are nearing the the room itself, there is a ear-splitting, shriek that echoes throughout the hallway. It's enough to like stop us in our tracks. Like even though we are pounding and pushing through the hallway as quickly and as silently as we can to evade, capture, it is enough to truly to upend our action. And as we like throw ourselves instinctively, throw our backs against the walls, if we're already anticipating a blaster shot or, some sort of terrible wave of pain to like overcome our body, we realize it's not something that is hunting us, but it is another being which is creating these sounds. And, I think immediately there is like a pang of sort of like a shared empathetic pain, because not too long ago, we were the ones strapped up to a gurney with like all these mechanical apparatuses like scanning and prodding us. But as the screams continue, and then we sort of like, it starts off as just like wild rambling yells and then becomes like coherent words and thoughts and just sort of like, I don't know where it is. I don't know. Stop. We our ears perk up and we're like, that's Devlin. And oh shit. That's Devlin. Oh God. Okay. So is this in? Okay. I have another question for our GM emulator here. So we're following this. Obviously interrupted us, right? This was happening as we were heading to the vault. Is this the same chamber? Or is this like a chamber along the way? Is this taking us away from our initial goal? Even though I do think that Jaizen has like a bleeding heart, right? Like Jaizen would probably interact with his friend, even if his friend did leave him for dead. I'm curious. I'm curious in terms of just how the layout of this place is kind of forming itself. So we can actually ask the fate chart here, a yes or no question. So is this room the room we were anticipating going into, or is this like a sidetrack? So I'm gonna roll a D100. We are at a chaos rating 6 right now, which means 6. If the result is in the percentage chance, Sean Connery. The result is a percentage chance of the question resulting in a yes answer. A roll within the answer on the left is an exceptional yes. So yeah, that would mean a 16 to an 80 is a yes. Equal or more than the opposite on the right is okay. Yeah. So if it's a 51, it is the same room that we were anticipating going into anyway. So, okay, so there's no reason for us to ignore this. Okay. Whew. Oh God. I think, how dark do we want to go with this? I think that Jaizen hears this, registers that it's Devlin, and begins to creep his way, with the perforator in hand. Actually, probably, slings it over his shoulder because... Yes, Nar says, keep an eye out for the exceptional yes and the exceptional no, which are the very two outlying values on this chart right here. You are correct. Hopefully... we won't see one of those for a little while, but they are there and they are present and they do make me scared. I think if we know, since we have all of our gear now and we know that perhaps Devlin is in trouble and we're trying to remain unseen, I think we do actually have, we have a multi-purpose knife, which actually acts as a repair tool, but is also a knife, which may be useful. They can be very good or very bad depending, says Nar. Yes, I can see that. Oh boy, but is the knife even gonna pierce their armor? Maybe we just keep the perforator out. I'm nervous. I don't know what to do. Anyway, we enter the room as silently as we can. And I think what we see is we see a chamber which is stabbing is always useful, says Loki. Yes, I agree, but when these things are made of metal, I don't know. Because what is their armor? Their armor is equivalent to metal, which is 2 armor, and a knife deals 2 damage. So unless I spent effort to deal more damage, I don't think I would do any damage. Yeah, it says stab harder. Essentially, that's what I'd have to do, is I would have to, like, spend effort to deal more damage. Loki would say that, not that it's wrong. Yeah, I agree. Just stab harder. I think what happens is we slink our way, we put our back towards this now open wall, and we're constantly on the lookout on either side to see if there are more what remains wheeling around the hallway. And the whole facility is still rumbling and shaking because the glaciopod is nearby, which is, once again causing us another level of sweat. And, we're hearing these screams like, I don't know where it is! Stop! And you can hear like, tss, tss, tss. And I think what we see is we peel around, and Devlin is in a sort of strapped to a table, not too dissimilar to the one that we were strapped to when we woke up, right? It's like levitated slightly in the air. There are a number of mechanical arms and tubes that are dangling from the ceiling, some of which are sort of like these like mechanical optical nerves, which are like scanning the body. Other appendages which, look like much more like prodding implements. In fact, I imagine that some of them probably look not too dissimilar to the sort of claw-like appendage that comes out of the face of what remains, because as we've discovered, the what remains can actually generate thermal energy. That's like their blaster weapon, right? It's a good thing Jaizen escaped as quickly as he did. This could have been him as well. I think Jaizen is very clearly and keenly aware of that fact as he's watching Devlin, because also remember, Jaizen's body has the endothermic coating now, has the silver ichor. So a lot of the frost damage that was being dealt by what remains was being lessened, right? So I think what we're watching actually is like this mechanical appendage, which is like, hovering above Devlin, and there's like sparks of like blue light that create this like beam of fractal like frozen energy that's just sort of carving away across his flesh, and it's like instant frost burn. You know what I mean? Imagine an inverted laser. It's just like, it's like atrophying the flesh almost immediately as it touches it. And it's like, of course, tuned down to a low enough level that it isn't entirely fatal and like could probably be medically treated, to keep him alive long enough to continue the interrogation. But there's sort of like the being sort of swings his head around, and you just hear like just sort of like talking in this nonsense alien language, and Devlin is struggling and saying, I don't know what you want. I can't give it to you. I can't. And like, and then, you see the skin like blackening and bruising underneath like this like light blue energy beam, which is like crawling across his like exposed flesh. And it's becoming a pretty dire situation. And I think, oh god, what a twist of fate this has become. I don't think Jaizen would leave him for dead. I mean, even after everything, even after being left for dead himself, Jaizen is our protagonist, and I don't think that he would leave him for dead. So, I think what Jaizen is going to do is, Jaizen does know their inner workings now. I think there's a chance that Jaizen could disable them, technologically speaking. Maybe shut them down, hack them, if you will. But we just have to determine what challenge rating that would be. So if they're a challenge level 3, but their intelligence tasks, I would say that we'll count their intelligence DCs like how they're designed, right? We'll say that's a 4. However, we are better at that now because we've studied them, so it takes it down to a 9 again. I could potentially spend some intellect. My max intellect is 18. I'm currently sitting at 13. Is that enough to... I would spend 2. I think it's pretty important that we do it. I'm gonna do it. It feels so bad. Their hardware is better than their software, says Nar. Exactly. Yeah, we've seen behind the veil. We know that they are just tough bots. They are not smart bots. So if I have 13 and I have an edge of 1, if I spend 3 effort, that means I'm only using 2 points. So I go down to 11, which pushes this down to a standard task. Oh my god, I'm so nervous. Okay, so basically, we turn around, right? And, like, Devlin is, like, screaming and yelling. And I think there's a moment that, like, as we're, like, sneaking into the room, we make eye contact. And there is a look that washes over Devlin's face, which is equal part, like, horror. Like, oh, like, he thought we were dead. Like, the last he saw of us, we were drowning in liquid metal. Like, he's seeing a fucking ghost right now. But not only that, like, we are his only salvation. And so I think it is this just mixture of emotions. And he has to try and sell this as if he didn't just see us. So he's just, like, frozen solid. I mean, no pun intended, because he is actually being, like, frost-burned in real time. But there is just eyes wide, chittering, shaking, just a flood of emotions. And I think Jaizen, like, slings the perforator over his shoulder and, like, hits a few buttons on, like, his wrist computer and, like, just goes like, shh, you know, and, like, moves closer as, like, the eyes are glowing with, like, and Devlin hasn't seen that either. Like, we've described that, like, our veins now, you can kind of see they're kind of, like, silvered underneath our flesh, and our eyes are glowing with, like, that strange blue data sphere light. Like, we look like he does not remember us. And we're, like, walking in, and we're like, shh, and we're, like, hitting a few buttons on our wrist computers. We're, like, nearing the back of the drone, and we're gonna roll and see what happens. We're gonna roll. Ooh. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm using up all my points, even though I don't need them. I think there's, like, a, you know, beep beep beep. It's like it's like a combination of us playing on our wrist computer and, like, us seeing sort of like an X-ray, almost skeletal view of their, like, internal systems from our heads-up display, and, like, we flick our multi-tool out and we, like, spin it into, like, a, you know, a little hatch, and we, like, pry it open as the machine is just, like, interrogating. Oh, that's a special roll as well, says Nar. I do not doubt you. Nar is very knowledgeable about the system, which I am thankful for, considering I am so new. I know that 19s give you a special bonus in combat, Nar. Do they also give you a bonus outside of combat is the question. Minor effects, major effects. I'm looking to see if they give me anything easy on the cheat sheet here. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-da-da-ba. We'll take a look. Cypher danger. Stranger danger. Cypher danger. Cypher special. Initial. I'll take a look. I thought they did. Could be wrong though. You're definitely right. It's special in combat. I see here a +3 damage or minor effect, which I guess our minor effect is, like, we're shutting down the robot, which I'm fine with, you know, because we do see down here disarm, stun, impair is major. So I think that makes sense, you know. If not, we'll justify it within the fiction. But, you know, I think we, like, plunge our tool into its back as it's, like, staring at Devlin, like, and, like, we hit a few buttons. We're, like, frantically pressing on our keypad. We're, like, short-circuiting all of these different, like, electrical synapses within the machine. And there's, like, a moment where it, like, lifts its head up and, like, the mechanical appendage, like, streaks up towards the ceiling, and there's a blast of frosty energy that, like, streaks across the ceiling and, like, makes a big frozen line across it as, like, it begins to fail, technologically speaking. And then finally we wrench our final, like, you know, like we do the final twist into whatever vital like organ of electronics is inside of there, as all of those spider legs give out underneath it, and it just collapses into a big pool of its own limbs, and like the main column of its body like shifts over and just like leans against the wall, and you hear like Ita chita chunk, you know, like just like hits the wall, and the arm goes limp on the floor. As we like, you know, stand from crouching. Narcissus, I've read Cypher a decent bit, but I've only run one game for my friend, as the system is still new to us as well. Yes, there's a lot that goes on in Cypher, for sure. Definitely a lot more straightforward than some systems like D&D, but not that I don't love D&D, but I'm still learning too, so we're learning together. But yeah, I think there's just this moment where Jaizen like stands up slowly, you know, and he's holding his knife. And, you know, there's just a shadow cast on Devlin, who is still strapped onto the machine. And all Devlin can see is like silvered veins and like glowing blue eyes and this like bloodied, you know, battered form. And I think there's a moment that passes through Devlin's mind where it's like, have I just been, you know, these robots give me 1950s sci-fi vibes. Love it. Yeah, maybe. I mean, look at their little bodies. I think that's like why they act like that in my mind. They kind of look to me like they would act like that. I think there's a moment where Devlin almost thinks like, have I just been like delivered like from torture unto death, you know, like is Jaizen going to be my end? And I think Jaizen like soundlessly, like wordlessly approaches the table, and Devlin is like still strapped down to it with like the frost burn stretching across his chest as he begins to like wrestle. He's like, Jaizen, don't do anything drastic, Jaizen. I didn't know. I couldn't have known. I thought you died, and I saw you reach, but I didn't know if I pulled you. What if you pulled me in, Jaizen? And like Jaizen is like leaning the knife down closer and closer, just without a sound, and like it gets really close to like you know, Devlin's body, and there's like one more like Jaizen, and then there's a clink, and Jaizen like flips it into like the multi-tool and like begins working at the restraints instead, which I feel like is probably also going to be a check, right? Like I can't just do it for free as much as I wish I could. Okay, so what kind of check is this? I would say probably a demanding task, right? It requires our full attention, but most people have a 50% chance to succeed. Or is this difficult? Trained people have a 50% chance to succeed. Maybe this is difficult. You know? Like, even trained people would have a hard time undoing a restraint of, like, a being that, you know, is not entirely even human, I think. I would say maybe this is difficult. All right. I'm really afraid to keep spending my points, so I don't think I can do it. I think I just have to roll normal. All right, so this is, I need to get a 12. And I'm going to roll my d20. 16! Bam! Even if it was challenging, I still would have made it. Either intellect or speed, depending on how you're going about it. Maybe there's a remote control to the restraints. Oh, that's a good idea too. Yeah, perhaps there is a technological way of freeing. Yeah, I think that would have been the, like, in the scale of things to do. It would have been like, try to open the restraints, then try to see if there was an electronic way to open it. Last resort, like, blast our way out of it, right? Which probably would have alerted the enemies, but you know. We did it the first time, so we've evaded that danger for now. And so I think, yeah, like, you know, Devlin is like, Jaizen! And, like, Jaizen, like, takes the knife, flips it into the tool, buries it into the restraint, and starts working. And with a couple of adept, like, flicks of the wrist, you know, there's, like, almost like a steam, like a cold steam, like a hiss that like releases from the restraint as it pops open, and Devlin like releases his arm, and then there's a moment later where the other one as they're all popped open, and like Devlin falls forward on the table, off the table, like onto like hands and knees, and is like breathing heavily. at our feet, you know, and is trying to like catch their breath. Jaizen, I'm sorry. Thank you. And like I think Jaizen just like, we don't have time for this. You can beg forgiveness all you want after we get out of here, but we have to get out of here alive first, Devlin. And you're not off the hook. We are going to talk about what happened. Yeah, no, you're right. And like Devlin is like looking around the room, still dazed, still probably mostly naked, like Jaizen was not but a couple of a little while ago. And I think Jaizen sort of like reaches into his pack. I'm going to assume there's probably some like spare, you know, clothing items, some just like some really basic rough and tumble kind of stuff that he would have in his pack in case he was going for a long delve. I'm just going to assume I have that. And I don't even like I like he's like getting up and I just like underhand throw it into his chest. There's just like a, you know, like almost like half react catches it and like against his like body, says, put yourself together, we're leaving. And like just ice cold to Devlin, as Devlin like nods his head, still kind of like shell shocked from the whole event. Yeah, no, just give me a minute. And like starts putting on his clothes. I think while that's happening, I think we are going to take this opportunity to scan the room a bit. We did possibly understand that there was going to be some valuable item in here of some kind. So I think we want to search for... There's a searching for Numenera. Yeah, let's search for Numenera. 15 minutes to an hour. 10 minutes to an hour. Difficulty task 3 or 4. I'm going to say, you know, Devlin... Sorry, Devlin. Jaizen, I think, is going to shoot for the artifact. Because he wants something tangible to bring back home. The ciphers are temporary, but the artifacts are forever, as far as we know. And I've already rolled some ciphers and some artifacts ahead of time to help mitigate some of the back and forth. So, oh boy, is this going to be another opportunity where I spend some points? Do I have anything that can help me here? Decipher. If you spend 1 minute examining a piece of code. Muscles of Iron is going to help me with strength stuff, but not other stuff. Oh, I am trained in this, which means I can take this a step down. Oh, wait, Kitty. Where's Kitty? Oh, is Piper? Hi, Piper. I can't see if she's on screen right now, but that is Piper. She is baby. She's probably getting antsy because it's getting late. Do you want me to move the computer so you can get closer if you want? She likes to sit on the edge of the couch like a little gargoyle, so I'll move that for her in case she wants to goyle it up a little bit. Okay. I've been rolling so high. It's gonna bring my intellect really low. It's gonna bring my intellect into half of what it normally is. Oh, she's just off screen. It's okay, Piper. Maybe you'll come over. But I think I'm gonna do it because then I can bring this down one more, which would be a grand total of... If I already brought it down to 3, 2, 6, roll. Nice. Okay. So if that is the case, I'm going to open up, because I did take some notes on some Numenera that we would find in advance. Yes, okay. So, as Devlin, I have to get everyone's name straight now, because now I have 2 characters to babysit. As Devlin is, like, getting the clothes on, and is probably searching around the room for any of his previous items, Jaizen is searching the room for any, Numeneran artifice that would be particularly important. And what comes across... Oh, we can't identify it. We can just find it, right? For now. Right? Identifying... Okay. We'll find it now. Oh, should we attempt to identify it? What I think he finds, first of all, before I go too deep into it, is, you know, there's all these different arms, these different like mechanical arms and cables that are like hanging from the ceiling, right? And I think there's like one part of the workshop, this like research center, where there is like it almost looks like a tiny metallic spinal cord that has all of these different mechanical arms that are going out on the other sides of it, right? And on one end of it, we can clearly see that like threaded in between the loop of this like metallic spine, there seems to be like spools of metallic cable, right? It's almost like hanging from the ceiling, like a grappling hook, you know, like a closed fist grappling hook. And I think like we're inspecting it, and like we're, you know, our heads up display is like sort of pointing at this object and is like registering that this is like the Numeneran artifact signature that we detected on this floor. And so like we reach tentatively for it, and as we touch it, the machine, like all those little mechanical arms break open, like you know, like out wide, and before we have a chance like retract our arm, it like lurches onto us, almost like bites down on our flesh. And there's like a moment where, you know, we yelp in surprise, like we try to swing it off our arm, but like as we swing it, like those cables, those metallic spools are like anchored into our flesh, so it just sort of like gets like yanked off into the air, like still connected to our body by a cable, and then like tethers itself back onto our arm, and we're trying to pull it, and it just like clink, clink, like back onto us over and over again until it finally like bites down snug enough that we hear like another one of those icy hisses like that, and we feel the cold on our flesh, although it doesn't entirely harm us because our body is like naturally ice resistant in this moment. But there's like a feeling that whatever this thing is, it has sort of forced itself onto our body in a way that we cannot easily undo. And so like, and we like move our arm around for a second, and the little bendature of the spine, like, you know, completely moves to the motion of our body. It doesn't restrict us in any way, but it is like a firm gauntlet that is now attached to our wrist of like these almost like metallic spider legs that have like crunched into our body, and we can see these like metallic threads like spooling underneath of it. I kind of want to identify it immediately. It's gonna... Jason has a habit of collecting ancient artifacts into his body in some way. You have no idea, Nar. I think that's kind of gonna be Jason's theme for the most part when it comes to Numenera. In fairness, a lot of the descriptions of items in Numenera are like that, weird and creepy. A lot of them are like, you know, graphs or, you know, things of that nature. But yeah, I think there's going to definitely be an overarching theme where Jason's body just becomes less and less human the more we go. So I'm gonna say we can do that within our 10 minutes. We rolled really high for that. Do we have the opportunity? Arm hugger, says Loki. Yeah, essentially like a metallic arm hugger. No joke. That is very accurate to what I imagine has now bonded itself to Jason. And I think at this point, like, Devlin turns around. I'll risk it. I'll risk trying to identify it, because I think, once again, this is Jason's flaw. He's so obsessed with technology. The whole campaign is just him accessorizing. Yeah, he's not actually in it for like scientific advancement. He's like, what's gonna make me look badass? Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, absolutely. I would say Jason is highly, like, his aesthetic is very cyberpunk inspired for sure. Yeah, I mean, like, it's gotta be we've got to try it because we are that guy. All right, so the artifact task to inspect it is equal to the level, which I do know is pretty high. I randomly rolled for it, which is good. We discovered it, which means, we actually get that XP, which is pretty cool. I'm going to write that down. I randomly rolled This whole thing is him accessorizing Cypherpunk. Oh! Nar! Cypherpunk. Nice. Oh, that's good. I wish I would have thought of it, but I'm glad you're here to think of it for me. Yeah, the item actually has a high item level. It was randomly rolled, so that's good XP for us, but it also makes identifying the object harder. But of course, Jason's gonna do it. Okay, so this is a 6. Gosh, dang, it's an 18. I'm just gonna spend all my mind points trying to figure out what the hell this thing is. Do I have anything else that could help me? I have a machine interface. Oh, for 1 minute, you can gain an asset on task to discern the level function. Yeah, that actually could help me. Although I have to spend 2 intellect points to do it. So I'd be... Oh, God. Oh, no. Okay, let me do the math here. So if it's 2 intellect points, that means I would be spending 1. And then I would be spending another 2 to reduce it via effort because I have edge. So it'd be a maximum of 3. Right? And then I have knowledge on this, so I could potentially reduce it by 4. I feel like, God. Yeah. 876. This is how Jaizen goes. This is literally like his... This is Jaizen sacrifices his mind for knowledge. This is literally how it goes. Okay, so -1 for my machine interface, another 1 for effort, and then I'm trained. So that is 3 reductions. Right? Yeah, 3 reductions. So it's sitting at a 9 right now. Oh God, please don't make me hurt my brain for nothing. I did just hurt my brain for nothing. Damn it. Oh, actually, I just got a point of XP, which I can use to re-roll a die result. So I will do that. I rolled a 4. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that behind my my face? I'll pull it out over here. Yeah, I rolled a 4. Which, yeah, is not what I wanted to be. Loki said, I mean, if I had a metal spine thing gripping the flesh of my arm, I'd want to know too. That is a fair assessment. So I am going to immediately spend that XP. I just gained it for discovering the object. Why not spend it? And hopefully, you know, not totally kill my brain again. Are you serious? Are you serious right now? Okay. Okay, so I can suffer 2 damage, or I can take a free GM intrusion. I guess I would just suffer the damage. I don't know if we could deal with a GM intrusion right now. Or can I deal with the damage? I don't know. I don't know what to do. This is terrible. Oh wait, but I used the better result. I'm sorry. If I spend 1 XP to re-roll, I use the better result, which was a 4. Yes, thank you, Nar. Thank you for reminding me of that. So never mind. I don't double hurt myself, but I at least do like try and prod and poke at like well, I guess now my wrist computer, whatever wrist is my wrist computer, which I would say is my right, I guess the other wrist is now this metallic arm hugger, right? So like, you know, I'm like trying to click my way through all of these findings on Numenera, and I'm pulling up nothing. At this point, I think Devlin like returns to us, you know, sheepishly, tail between his legs a little bit, and says, Jaizen, are you? And like you can see I'm sort of like twitching, like trying, like my arm is like trying to adjust and like acclimate, and there's like little bits of frosty air that are puffing out of the sides. I'm fine, Devlin. I'm fine. You know, like don't worry about it. And like I there's part of me is like shame that I can't figure out the answer. I think a part of me is like I don't really need Devlin asking how I am, considering last time he didn't really care how I was when I was drowning in liquid metal. So I think there's, you know, I just pretty much dismiss him. Says, I'm fine. It's nothing. I don't think. And I just sort of like look at it as it strangely like, you know, finally bonds itself to my arm. We should get going, Devlin says as he like panically, like, you know, in a panic sort of looks over his shoulder. I don't know when they're supposed to come back to do what they were. I know what they were doing, Devlin. And I think I might even like pull like a bit of like my shirt aside, and you can see there's like a similar, to a lesser extent, because my body naturally resists the cold a little bit better than his now, but there's still like an icy blue line that is like running across my flesh, and I give him like a very knowing, like hard gaze, and is like, I'm well aware of what they were doing. Nar, has Jaizen rested yet? He has. He's rested twice, which means now the next rest he has to be an hour, which they could do, presuming they're not caught by, you know, what remains. Which I think, I will say, all right. So I think this scene, I think we're just about done with this scene. Which I think in terms of overall, the overall feeling of the scene is, I think, we actually decreased the chaos factor. We were pretty in control of that scene. We snuck in, we disabled the drone, we freed Devlin, we discovered a Numenera. We don't exactly know what it is yet. That is still perplexing us, but we have discovered it. So there's a lot of good that happened in that scene. So I'm going to say the chaos factor reduces down to 5. And so what happens with Devlin? So a quick campaign note. So we find Devlin being tortured. We hack the drone. We free Devlin. We my brain is thinking. We find the quote unquote arm hugger, but then in quotes, don't figure out what it does. And then I think we are ready to find the gate. Okay, so now we have Devlin, we have our treasure. There's pretty much no reason to stay here. And I guess this is the moment where we have to decide if we're gonna try and risk resting. The only thing that has really hurt is our intellect, which granted we have been using a lot these past few scenes. You could add the thread that the artifact, forgot what it's called now, is missing. Oh, yes. Thank you. Open threads. Where did Devlin go? Why did he abandon me? Well, I guess we have the answer to that one, more or less. Well, we have the answer to part 1. The artifact, known as the atomometrics is what they called it. I found a name generator for sci-fi shit and just plugged it in. So we'll figure out what it does eventually. Okay. So where did Devlin go? So we know that. So I guess we should say, why did Devlin abandon me? I'm gonna adjust this. Why did Devlin abandon me? We'll keep that thread. We know where he is now, but we still don't know his motivations. So we'll alter that thread. I think makes sense. Okay. So, the moment of truth. Do we try and catch our breath before we head into the wild pale yonder? Oh, could I make the text bigger? Yeah, absolutely I could. Let's go with 22. 22, all right, for this. I might have to change all the other ones too. Okay. Yeah, some of these threads may be maybe slightly spoilery depending on how much you know of Devlin's history. I guess, okay, my question is, do we think we even have enough time to rest? Is the situation in this place so dire that we would even have time? And I think to answer that, I'm going to ask the Oracle. Because I don't know the answer to that, and I don't want to cheat. So I'm just going to ask the Oracle. So I'm going to go to GM Emulator. So we're down to a 5, which is a little bit more manageable. 50-50 shot. I'm going to say it's a 50-50 shot, right? Because these things are obviously on high alert, but they also are trying to tend to the factory because they don't know if the glaciopod is going to try to make a break for the outer shell. So I'm going to say it's 50-50. And we will just roll and see what happens. 23. So if it's a 5 at a 50-50, so yes, it is within the 50 range, which means it is a yes, but not an exceptional yes. So we do have enough time to collect ourselves here. So that means I have to take an hour. Oh gosh. Oh, this is going to be an interesting scene too. Oh man. Okay. So because we are part of the descriptor that I took for Devlin is that we are sort of like a cyborg. So when we take rests, we don't rest as normal, right? We're not like a regular human who's just like catching their breath and things work. Remember to test your scene first before it starts. Thank you. I will do that. So I will say Chaos Factor 5, campaign sessions. So we're going to say, I'm still going to count the rest. Should the rest be at the end of this scene? I feel like it is. I feel like the rest is going to be our bridge into the next scene. Defrag, says Loki. Yeah, essentially, that's what he has to do. As an entity of living flesh and humming machinery, you must first succeed on a difficulty 2 repair task before I can make a recovery roll. On a failure, the recovery roll is not used. However, the normal rules for retrying apply, and you must effort in a new roll if you wish to try again. In addition to the normal additions for using effort, you can choose... Okay, so first things first, I'm going to... Although this is a pretty routine check for us because we do know about Numenera technology. So it's... I'm not going to use our machine interface power because I would actually have to... Well, then I would just gain... I would gain the points back, right? I have to remind myself how recovery works. Yeah, roll 1d6 plus tier divided amongst the stat pools, so I don't get everything back. I have to divide these points among the stat pool. So no, I won't spend the intellect then. I'll just use my natural knowledge in machinery, because still that brings it down by 1, and this is a repair 2 task. So there's a fairly good chance that I will be successful at it without any major malfunction. I don't know where my dice operator went. Thank you. Yeah, okay, we succeeded. So now I can roll a d6. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? You're kidding. You're kidding me. This is jokes. You're all jokes. Healing. Intellect task, difficulty, number of points healed. Right? Difficulty, number of points healed. So what? So that's 2. I get 2 points of healing back? Oh, are you kidding me? I spent a whole hour just to get 2 points of intellect back? That's absolutely brutal. Because, I mean, I have to put them in intellect. Intellect is the one that is, like, about to short circuit. No pun intended. On a failure, alright, in addition to, you can choose to use the effort to heal additional points to your pools. Oh, I can, wait. In addition to the normal options for using effort, you can choose to use effort to heal additional points to your pools. Each level of effort healing an additional 2 points to your pools if you succeed. I think that's what I'll do, because that's something I get to do specifically because I'm a robot boy. So I think what I'll do is I'll spend that from... I think that makes sense to spend that from might, right? Like my body is like a techno-organic form. So I would spend effort from there, which means I'd have to use 2 points. You can choose... Each level of effort is an additional 2 healing points to your stat pools. Okay. So, yeah, I will say I will spend the 2 here and go to 10 might, but that means I will have a grand total of 4 points, which I will put all back into my brain. So basically, I'm just 10s across the board. I was 12, 14, 18. Now I'm 10, 10, 10. But at least it's something, right? It's better than 6. But I think what's really interesting about this scene, however, is, you know, we are, you know, Devlin is like, rummaging, like, we throw him our pack, and there's probably, like, a few bandages and, like, maybe, like, medi-gel caps, or, like, whatever we would normally bring when we're spelunking, and he's, like, tending to some of his scrapes, and he's, like, rubbing it on his frostburn and things like that, and we're, like, sitting, like, silently, kind of, like, skulking in the corner, and, like, you can see our faces, like, twitching as, like, our body is, like, our musculature and our internal organs and, like, our now Numeneran innards are, like, churning, and you might even hear like mechanical whirring. Will Wolfe keep rolling ones? Asks Loki. Fortune comes my way, so perhaps no. says the 8-ball. Perhaps we will find solace. But yeah, I feel like you can almost hear like a mechanical churning and like echoing out from our body, and you might even see like almost like strange lumps moving underneath our flesh as like, you know, this new liquid metal is like coursing underneath of our body and like forcing our got hit with 6 ads in a row. Nar, I'm so sorry. Are you following? I feel like if you follow, I think follows should not have ads. I think that's one of the benefits I set up. But I'm sorry if that's the case. Basically, Nar, we just barely managed to get a few extra points of healing because we spent some might effort, because we can do that as a robot boy. But yeah, pretty much we are sulking in the corner as our body is like churning, and you can hear like mechanical machinations like buzzing underneath our flesh. And you can probably see like blue light like coursing through our silvered veins. Oh. See, Loki's got the big brain. It's not the followers who don't get ads. It is the subs who don't get ads. I forgot. But Loki just graciously donated to that problem to you, Nar. Thank you so much, Loki. Jeez, that is too kind. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate this community so much. You guys are so cool. Everyone is just so nice, and thank you. Gosh, I don't even know what to say. But yeah, Nar, now you don't have to worry about any ads. You are set. So yeah, you can probably see the blue lights underneath in our veins churning. Our eyes are like glowing, and our body is like there's like these snake-like movements of liquid metal underneath our flesh, and like Devlin is watching with the sort of like twisted, horrified expression, like as that is repairing our body. You know, like the blue lines of the frostburn are disappearing at a rapid rate in comparison to Devlin. The cuts and the scrapes and the bruises are either shrinking or like sealing shut across our body as Devlin is just like watching with us in sort of like a twist of shock and awe and disgust and amazement. And you know, there's a moment where he says, Jaizen, what happened to you? What are you? And like Jaizen like cuts him like a cold glance that's like, you know, still glowing with that icy blue light. I wish I could tell you, Devlin. The last thing I remember was that I was reaching for you, and a wave of darkness rolls over me. I'm swallowing metal by gallons. And I make peace with death. And the next thing I know, I'm on a table not too dissimilar to the one you're strapped to. And suddenly I'm being interrogated. And I got lights in my skin now. And I can't explain a single thing about it other than I know that it is your fault. That much I'm very sure of, Devlin. Like just like sort of staring back and forth. Actually, I do have... Ooh, now that I think about it. I have a... Oh, where did I put it? Connections. I do have a system where we can generate conversations between NPCs for experience points. So basically, demand connecting. Basically, what we'd have to do is we look at our connections here, and we choose 3 of these in combination to create a conversation prompt. And if we fulfill that conversation prompt, then we can redeem it for experience points. So I think what this would be reminisce connecting a possession. So yeah, reminisce connecting possession. This to me sounds like, or demand connecting a possession, which is straight across. This sounds like pressing Devlin for the artifact, right? That's what it sounds like to me. Demand connecting possession. So I'm gonna go to scenes. We're still at the tail end of our current scene here. Oh, and I should make this bigger. 22. Demand connecting a possession. So yeah, I think, he's staring at us. We say, I don't know what happened to me, Devlin. I wish I did. All I know is that whatever is wrong with me now, whatever I've become, which is clearly not entirely human, is directly thanks to you. So appreciate that. I hope it was worth what you can now see that I don't know how to spell the word tortured. I hope it was worth whatever that cube is that was so precious to you, Devlin. And you can see like Devlin's like head kind of hangs for a moment, and the sort of blonde. Nar says, where did you get this, or did you homebrew this yourself? Great question. This is actually, well, I have to double check because I thought it was from the Universal NPC Generator document that I referenced earlier in this episode, which I will share in the Discord. But I was actually looking for it before the stream started, and I couldn't find it, so I think it is actually from a separate document. But yeah, I will actually, I'll show you. I should have connections. Connection generator. Yeah, see, I have it cited from the Universal NPC Generator from Zach Best, but I think that might be wrong. But yeah, essentially, when you start a game, you create a table out of all of these different conversation points, and then you can mix and match them as you are playing. And if you can find a situation in which you fulfill one of the mix and match conversation prompts, then you can provide or ask for a reward. And this system is actually developed too for, group role-playing games. Like maybe you can hand these out to NPCs, or I should say PCs at the beginning of a session to kind of give them some tools to maybe think about conversations they want to have with NPCs or other players if they're not like natural role players, Or you could definitely write these down to like have to randomly generate conversations from NPCs if you like kind of don't have any ideas in that moment, So I will cite my source on this when I find it. I thought it was the Universal NPC Generator, but I don't see it in the actual document, so it might be from something else. But yeah, so I think so Devlin hears that we're interrogating him on this, and he hangs his head, and like all those like those blonde braids sort of like hang down in front of his face. Look, Jaizen, I know right now it doesn't seem like there's a good excuse for what I did. Yeah, Devlin, I can't think of very many good excuses for leaving your best friend to drown and die. There's very few things I can think of that would justify that. As Devlin like looks up like harshly and starkly, I didn't think that you were. There's a reason I needed that thing, Jaizen. I owe some people, and like begins to trail off. Well, I hope that you owe them a little bit more than the life of another person, because that seems to be what you're willing to sacrifice for it, Devlin. Just sort of like trading these icy things back and forth. And Devlin, once again, sort of like looks in the other direction, feeling a little dejected. There's a pause. Jaizen like cuts back another long look. accidental keyboard smash. I thought it was a sad face for the scene. Both could work. Looks at Jaizen. Sorry, looks at Devlin and says, "Where is it? Where's what? Where is it, Devlin? That cube, the little box of gears and light that you stole. Where is it? These things are hunting us. These things are torturing us, looking for it. You were the last person who I saw know where it was. Why don't you just give it back to them and we can be done with all of this? Maybe we can actually get out in one piece." And that's a good question. So what has happened to this thing? I think I don't know the answer to that, but the GM emulator might. So let's give it a roll and see what it says. I'm gonna go bum 95, 89. Punish. I got punish again. Punish portals. Oh, punish portals. I already know where this is going, but portals is so good, so topical considering where we were in the story in the moment that happened. Says, "Where is it, Devlin? Maybe we can just give it to them and then this can all be over." And Devlin says, "I don't have it!" He turns around and yells at Jaizen, and Jaizen even recoils a little bit, Devlin has been so crestfallen since this is happening. He's like, "What do you mean you don't have it?" And Devlin looks back and says, "I told you that I owed some people, and these people, Jaizen, they are very powerful, they are very knowledgeable. They know more about the Numenera, about this world, probably about this place than we would ever know. And well, I was told that if I found that thing for them, the atomometrics, they would help me, Devlin. They would help my family back home at Outpost Masai, and I don't know. I got the box. I went to where they told me. It was another gate, like the gate that we found, that you found, that you opened, Jaizen. It was just like that one. And when I went there, they were waiting, and I gave them the box, and I thought that was it. I didn't know you were alive, Jaizen. I thought I would give them the box. We would walk into the portal together, and I would get what I was owed, and we would be done. We would be square. And they left me, Jaizen. They left me behind. They closed behind them. I don't know where they went with it. I don't know what they're planning on doing with it. I don't even really know what it is. There is fear and confusion that is all washing over Jason's face. Jaizen, who did you give this to? What did you give them? You don't even know what it's capable of. Where were they going with it? And at this point, I think Devlin is about to speak, and that's when the entire facility is rocked, by another mighty roar of the glaciopod as it continues to dig underneath the ice, and it's as the facility is trying to defend itself against the glaciopod's rage. And then Jaizen finally shakes, says we don't have time for this, Devlin. If we get out of here alive, we are going to find out what you did, who those people are. There's way too much at stake here. And Devlin, there's definitely a feeling of shame, that washes over his face, realizing how grandly that he's botched this entire thing. But they're in too deep now, and the only thing that matters right now is getting out with their skin intact. So yeah, I think we're gonna count that as a successful demand connecting a possession conversation. So I'm going to give myself an extra experience point, one to make up for the one that I spent earlier. Yeah, and then I think what we'll do as well, Space Mafia, says Loki. I have an idea in the lore of Numenera, right? I have an idea of who these people are ahead of time a little bit. At least I had an idea that might work out, and it looks like the game is justifying my initial reactions. But I don't know if Devlin knows yet, truly. And I don't think this is the moment for us to figure out if Devlin knows. But, I mean, I'll say this much. Space Mafia, I wouldn't say is entirely wrong. But I think there may be a little bit more to it than that. Okay, so we got our demand connecting a possession done. We're also going to roll 3 new Numenera equivalent of the huts, perhaps. Ooh, I like the way you're thinking there, Nar. All right, I'm going to roll 3 of these. 20, 18, 16. Speculate, connecting again. Enemies. Speculate, connecting enemies. Speculate, connecting enemies. So these are going to be our 3 new prompts that we may get to play with later on, depending on what happens. Okay, we can only redeem 1 XP per scene, so that was the scene we redeemed it for. So now, excuse me. We are going to go, and then we have -1 chaos factor. So now we are going to head into scene 2. So I think at this point, I mean, yeah, we have Devlin. Oh, that's probably another thread, and maybe an NPC. I've seen people use the NPC list to add organizations before. That's a very good point. Nara, thank you for pointing that out. I'm still getting very used to the whole threads aspect of things, but you are not wrong at all in that. So I do agree that is definitely a good idea for a new thread. So who did Devlin get double crossed by? For the Atoma metrics. And then and that's what the black cube is, the Atoma metrics. So we already have the what is the purpose of the black cube? That's already a thread. We don't know what it does. We're curious about it. But so that thread already exists. But who did Devlin get double crossed by? That is a new thread for sure. Thank you, Nar. Okay, so yeah, we have Devlin. We have a new artifact. Whether it or not it's being cooperative with us or not, we have it. So I think now is the moment where we decide we need to get the hell out of here before either the glaciopod tears this place apart or those that remain recapture us. So let's go back to our sessions. So we know that we are trying to get to the, what do you call it? We're trying to escape. We kind of have an idea of the layout of the place. Devlin apparently has a layout of the place, knows where one of the portal rooms is, at least before he got captured. So I don't know if we really need to roll to figure out what the scene is. I definitely think this is just like escape to the portals. I think we know that is the overall point of the scene. Although, once again, I think I will afford us an opportunity to see if the those that remain are afoot. I'm going to go back, especially because we waited like an hour plus some change. I imagine that they might be wanting to come back this way to check on Devlin, even considering all the craziness that is happening in the facility. So we're going to go back to the GM Emulator. We are now at the Challenge 5. I'm going to say... I would honestly say it's probably likely that they would make a patrol back this way, right? Like, I mean, probably some form of alarm went off when we sprung Devlin, like maybe even a silent alarm, right? And also they were torturing Devlin, and the drone has not been heard of for an hour. You might find out anyway if the next scene is interrupted. That's true. That's true. As you laugh at me and my terrible luck. Okay. Well then, yeah. Let's see. I feel like I should rearrange some of the alterations here. Okay, alterations and interruptions. You've got your scene set up, but don't jump into the scene just yet. I won't. Thank you. Thank you, flavor text. All right, so we're going to roll I think it's a D10 again, right? Yeah, roll D10. Roll a 1. Less than, so yeah, it's less than a 5. It's modified. If we rolled a 1, the scene is modified into an altered scene. Treat the basis of the scene as intended, but tweak it slightly or ask the fate chart. Okay. So if, so we're tweaking it slightly. So if we are assuming, so it's not a full random event. Yeah, correct. It's not a full random event. So this is tweaked. It is likely that they are returning from patrol, but it is somewhat tweaked. So let's roll this out and then see how it's tweaked. I'm gonna roll the D100. It's a 47, so it's definitely within a yes. So they are on their way back, but it is tweaked. Let's make a note here. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'm gonna let this decide how it's tweaking for me. I'm gonna see what I generate here. 20, a truce. Oh my god, what? A truce, and then a 67, which is an ambush. Oh shit! I think I know exactly what happens. And I'm very excited for it. Okay, so okay. So yeah. So escape to the portals. So there's a high chance that they're coming back. But Toddy says, "Bro, I know, Todd. I couldn't have planned this. I could not have planned this any better. This is just how it's happening." Okay, so those that remain are coming back to check. We have an altered scene, which is a truce / ambush. Oh no. So yeah. Oh boy. So we spend the rest of our time mending our bodies. Jaizen doing so at an accelerated rate. We grill. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Truce ambush. I can't imagine. Oh, Toddy, I believe you can. Since it is an altered scene, instead of an interrupt, Jaizen and Devlin might have a chance to see it coming. I think they do. I think they get the one up on this. And so I think essentially what happens is like, we just get done grilling each other. Well, me mostly grilling Devlin about what happened with the automametrics. And like, as we are speaking, are arguing, we're getting like lost in our emotions and what's happening. From the corner of our ears, we hear like, and we like turn around and like the drones are like coming to face us with their like arms and like their frost blasters pointed in our direction. And then like you can hear their like voices kind of like crackling, almost like trying to tune into a radio wave until they find like a language that is like more common to our ear. And they're like, halt, remain where you are. And like as we are like, like Devlin is like reaching like slowly drilling Devlin, also knowing his dilling. Yeah, from now on in the campaign, whenever we're drilling Devlin, we're just Dylan. I think there's like we were like in the process of like leaning up for the perforator on our backs, and Devlin was like in the process of like trying to sneak his hand. Dill pickles, oh Rugrats, my heart. Is reaching over to like maybe find like a makeshift item that he can use in self-defense. There is a massive the sound of metal being rent and glass shattering, and a sudden, like, it's almost like a pop, almost like an air vacuum. It ruptures outside as a wave of cold and snow and ice shoots through the hallway and begins covering the metallic floor as, like, the drones turn around, and we can just see the massive icy teeth of the glaciopod like break through the reinforced metallic shell of the factory from the outside, like it piercing, like you can see like the energy waves, the shielding that was brought up around the front side of the building is like stressing and like fizzling out underneath the weight of the creature as it like barrels its full carapace against the factory, and you can almost feel like the factory like shift and tilt. Some of the objects like in the room fall off the table and like slide onto the floor, and I don't think it's so much that we make a truce, it's just that suddenly the drones realize that we are no longer the biggest threat in their immediate vicinity, as like immediately the arms whir around, like they completely spin 360, and you can see their the blue lights that were originally emanating at the head of their grapple claws begin to like shift yellow, then orange, then red, as they're like adjusting their temperature modules. They're like their heat sinks for their weaponry, and like you just hear like more ito and like in greater urgency as they're like and they start firing red hot lasers like at the glaciopod as it's like trying to chew and munch and like bite its way through the metal and like enter the facility. And I think like, you know, Devlin and I just like turn and we like look side by side and we're like, run! And we like turn and we just start booking it. Like we don't give them, I give like a parting shot on the perforator just to like try and hopefully dissuade the glaciopod. But I don't think it's a formal truce so much it is like, oh, neither of us are actually the biggest threat now in the area. We are now suddenly all very much lower on the food chain. As we turn and we begin to book as the drones like begin to fire into the glaciopod, trying to rupture its way into the factory. Oh boy, oh golly. Yeah, I see Loki says run. Absolutely, we have to run. Okay, so, oh god, this is gonna be terrible. This is gonna be so terrible. This is gonna be awful. This is gonna be scary. Okay, so we know campaign sessions. Okay, so we know, I'm just gonna make a note here, glaciopod bites through the shielding, begins to assault the factory, remaining drones abandon pursuit to defend factory, and we get the fuck out of there. Okay, so our new scene. This is our altered scene now. So I guess we are just running for our lives, trying to get to the portal. So here's a question. Oh boy. Okay. So if we are running, essentially we are running from the glaciopod, biting its way through the facility, right? Now the glaciopod, I made its challenge rating initially. I'm going to see if this still holds up. I mean, yeah, it would be a very hard enemy. This is a named and notable individual creature akin to like a dragon, right? This is essentially a boss creature. So this is a challenge rating 7 monster. A lot of its, although I based a lot of its stats off of the Tyrannosaurus Rex stat block, because I think it makes sense. I'm just hearing the escape music from the end of Super Metroid, says Loki. Oh, I wish I could play some good music right now that wouldn't crackle. I'll definitely fix that in these next upcoming streams. Oh boy. So this is all right. So it's a level 7 creature, although its perception isn't as good. It's a level 5, and its speed is a 5 because it's big and it's not quick and it's not very perceptive. My question is, would we have any benefit? Is there a way to mechanically show that perhaps there is some benefit? Like the fact that like it's being slowed down by other creatures, right? Like it's obviously it's biting its way into the facility, and we're obviously likely targets for it, but it's also being attacked outright by the drones, which I imagine would probably slow it down to some effect. So I would say maybe count this as a minor effect. Maybe like, count this as like knocking back, moving past, distracting. Yeah, that makes sense. Distracting. It's definitely distracting the beast. I mean, if it's one thing I can say it's definitely doing is that it is distracting it. So we'll say it'll increase the difficulty. So for us, it would decrease. It'd make it slightly easier. So, oh God. Okay. So if its speed is a 5, normally, and so we're moving it down by 1, so it's now a 4. Oh God. We can't get eaten here. So we should probably spend some points on this, even though we healed and like, oh, this is terrible. Okay, I don't have anything. When you apply effort to a navigation task because you don't know the way, lost, or attempting to blaze a new route, you need to choose between 2 or more similar paths. You can apply a free level of effort. Okay, this is what I wanted to see. So I'm going to say that we are going to use our ability called Find the Way, because we are natural navigators. So we are going to use our navigation skills to find the closest distance between 2 points to the teleporter room, even if that means unintentional shortcuts, or even if that means, shortcuts are made for us as the glaciopod is tearing through the facility. We are still going to be able to navigate with a certain level of adeptness that we would not normally be able to have. Let's see, says, another thing to keep in mind is when you get a random event or altered scene, depending on the severity, you could count it as a GM intrusion and give yourself XP. That is a very good point. Since Mythic is emulating a GM, then these scenarios could be when a GM naturally springs intrusions on you. That is very true. If that's the case, I would definitely say that this is probably a moment where an intrusion would count, and I'm not going to refute it, because it's way too cool to not take. So I think what I'll do is I'll take the XP for sure. I'll take I think a GM intrusion is, 2 XP to an affected PC. So I'll definitely take the 2 extra XP. But I think it is way too cool of a story moment to have the Glaciopod, munching its way through the facility. We're gonna keep it. It's scary and cool. It might kill us, but it'll be worth it. Okay, here's a question. So if my ability, Find the Way, it says when you apply effort to a navigation task. Okay. Nar says, yeah, seeing how things are turning out, I think it's fair. Me too. Yeah, I think a giant alien Sarlacc centipede monster eating the factory is a good moment to get some free XP. I'll take it. Which means I'm definitely going to have some XP to spend coming up, which will be exciting. I'd love to give some more power to Jaizen here. Okay, so, oh boy, what happens? So I was gonna say, does my Find the Way ability give me more bonus than extra effort normally would? But I don't think it does, because it says when you apply effort. So I'm already applying the effort. I just get a free level of it. And I can only apply 1 level of effort right now because of my level. So I think I just get this for free. So if it starts off at a 5 for speed, and it's getting hampered by 1 because it's dealing with the other creatures, dealing with the drones, that means we are now down to a level 9 task with our Find the Way to see if we can get to the teleporter room before terrible things happen to us. We just need a 9. That's all we need, baby. That's all we need is a 9. That's not too much to ask, right? I haven't rolled like 4 1s this game so far. I'm gonna move the dice out here so you can see. Everybody say your prayers for me. Okay, so that's not a 9, number 1. It's definitely lower than a 9. I'll say that much. So what I think we're going to do is we are immediately going to spend one of those points of XP that we just got, which unfortunately will not go into leveling up Jason, but maybe will help us not die. And not dying is pretty sick, it turns out. So everyone, hold your breath and pray to the Numeneran gods, the Iron gods, in the machine. I'm gonna roll the die again. Woo! There we go, baby. 1 point above. Literally 1 point above. So yeah, I think basically what happens is, we look to each other. We're like, run! As we begin, like, pushing ourselves, through the hallway. The glaciopod, just almost in, like, one bite, like, completely capsizes the 2 drones and pretty much buries its teeth into the doorway, like, behind us as we run in the opposite direction. And it's like one of those scenes where, like, we're running down the hallway, one of the drones is, like, firing at us. We're, like, ducking as, like, the laser beams shoot and, like, hit, part of the wall, and then we turn a corner, and then you see the glaciopod's maw, like, open up and chomp down on the hallway where we just turned a corner, and that drone completely disappears. It's just like we're just a few steps ahead of every next other bite, as, like, its carapace is, like, singed and, like, pinged with laser fire, and it, like, loses us for a second to, like, swing its head and, like, bludgeon a couple of the drones, like, knocking them into the air and, like, shattering them against the wall. But then just as quickly, like, it turns its head back around, and there's like a primal as it's, like, hungers for meat and, like, continues to bite through the facility as it's trying to find us. But we do manage to evade it long enough for now that I think a majority of the drones, like, they coalesce on its position, and there's probably, like, an emergency fail-safe shielding unit, right? Like, there's, like, a boom, like, a new layer of blue light erupts, like, through one of the hallways, and it, like, probably cuts, like, a small army of what remains drones in half. Like, on one side, they just create, like, a self-sacrificial firing line where they're just, like, bzz, 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 like, drilling into the glaciopod full front, and it's, like, growling and roaring and deflecting all these shots, and then eventually pushes through, shatters them into pieces, and then presses itself up against the shielding unit and just begins to bash and try and chew on it vigorously. Just nothing but animalistic rage and hunger fueling its progression forward, as the rest of the what remains drones are, like, waiting on the other side of the shielding unit, just, like, waiting for it to drop to release a whole new volley. But we are out. For now, we are safe as we, like, find our way to the portal room. Loki says you had to offer prayers to the Omnisaya. Whoa, that's a really cool word. Is that from something? Did you just make that up? Because if you just made that up, I might steal it for this playthrough or something. Omnisaya is pretty badass. But it also sounds like something that might have been from, like, Overwatch with, like, the Omnics. I don't know. My Overwatch lore is not that deep. But I think we rush. We find our way to, like, one of the gate rooms, and, like, we immediately run in. And there are probably there might be drones there. We might have to fight our way out. I imagine, like, we burst into the room. Immediately, I turn around and I, like, look at the panel. I'm like, beep, 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 and, like, shoom, and I close a blast door to try and buy us as much time as we possibly can. Warhammer 40k says Loki. Yeah, about to say Omnisaya definitely sounds like some badass thing that likely already exists. Thank you, very smart fantasy sci-fi writers. But yeah, and I think, like, Devlin rushes in to try and get to the portal control, since he's manipulated, he's found them before. But I guess the question is does this room have drones in it? Is this going to be, like, our final, or did they all flood? Did they all leave to help defend the facility, you know? I think this is a moment I'm going to leave up to the GM emulator. This may be our our last fight through the facility. Look at Devlin, by the way. We haven't seen Devlin in a little bit. Look at that punk. Look at that fucking punk. Left us for dead, got scammed, got tortured. We saved your life, you ungrateful son of a bitch. Okay. while I berate a non-playable character here, let's go back to the GM emulator. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I would say that it is only... Oh boy. I wouldn't say it's 50-50 they're there, and I wouldn't say it's very likely because they may have been ejected from this place to help defend the facility. But I think there is a likely chance that some have stayed behind to specifically guard the teleporter chamber, right? Like, it makes sense that some of the drones have, like, just a preset, like, we do not move from this position. This is, like, our charge. I think that also is likely. So I will just say it is likely. And that is a challenge rating, sorry, chaos ranking. my D&D brain is firing, not challenge rating, chaos rating. Of, okay, D100, 87. So that's a no. They are not there. I know this is for D&D, but can we say the last reroll is free because I feel bad for Jason all he's been through? No, absolutely. The inspiration should be for everything. I just have it tailored to D&D because that is, you know, I should probably rename that to, like, you know, heroic reroll or something like that. But yeah, I will gladly take the free the free reroll if you want to spend the points for it. Absolutely. So yeah, that's an 80. That's an 87. So that means even if it's likely that they're there, they've all evacuated. Oh shit. Okay. So yeah, I'm like beep 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 beep, shunk, and like close the door, and Devlin like rushes over to the console, and from outside we can hear like the rumbling of the glaciopod, and like the entire facility is like creaking and like shifting, and there's laser fire, and there's the shouts of drones in like an unknown language, and I just like spin around, and I'm like Devlin, get to the console, turn it on, go, and like Devlin is like running over there, and he's like furiously tapping on the button. He's like, I'm trying. There's just, I think the security protocols are up. I think because of the monster, I think it's shut down. And like, he's like freaking out as like, you know, I see all these screens that are like in, you know, alien languages. There's just flashing red lights. And you know, there's like symbols that are appearing that are like showing that there's like a system lockdown. Like, I don't think the teleporters are on. I think this place is entirely shut down. And you know, Jason's like, oh, you know, shit, fuck. I don't even know what he'd say, but he has to run over there and help. Okay, so, oh god, oh boy, so we have a console, an alien Numeneran console, teleportation grid console, which is currently in a full system lockdown because the facility's been compromised. And there's no drones there to turn it on. So what challenge rating is that, and what can we do to like save ourselves? Trained people have a 50. Oh god, what would I make this? I wouldn't say it's impossible without skill or effort. Normal people almost never succeed, or trained people often fail. This is either probably challenging or intimidating, I would say, in terms of like what I'm interpreting from the challenge. As much as I hate to admit this, I think it's intimidating. I think a normal person who has never interacted with a Numeneran console, teleportation grid console, would probably fail this. That's a very difficult thing to do. So I think this is intimidating, which sucks for us. That's number one. Well, if the drones aren't smart, then it shouldn't be too hard, says Nar. True, but they're designed to make it work. Yeah, Toddy says they have to be somewhat smart. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Like, we don't understand it because it's not our intelligence. This is Numeneran intelligence. It's alien to us. Okay, so we're gonna have to do some gosh dang. All right, so turn on the console. This is gonna be an 18. So we have to see what we can do. Toddy says, yeah, they are a different gender. As well, at least as far, we've never got a chance to ask them, truly. So we don't know. But, you know, I imagine they didn't want to ask us a lot of questions because they were too busy blasting us with ice rays. Oh, gosh. What can we do? What can we do? Let's use our brain. Let's use our brain. Okay. So number one, I do have Decipher, which says if you spend a minute examining a piece of writing or code in a language you do not understand, we can make an intellect roll of 3 to get a gist of the message. And I can do that for free because it costs 1 intellect point. Yes, Jaizen does have the Numenera internet in his brain now, which definitely will reduce the complexity of this check. Absolutely, it will. But I think first what we have to do... I'm going to see if I can decipher the alien language, right? Because now I'm not just hearing it spoken, I am seeing writing or code in a language I do not understand, which directly speaks to this power that I have. And because it costs 1 intellect point, but I have an intellect edge of 1, it is free for me. So I'm going to say that it starts off as a difficulty 3. I do have an investigation skill that's trained. I think that would probably help me in this. So I'm gonna make that a level 2 because I have to investigate the code to understand what it means. So all right, so it's a difficulty rating 2. I believe that's high enough. It is just high enough. It is exactly what I needed to get, and no higher. So okay, so we succeeded on cracking the code. So that's going to give us a -1 to solve the console because now we can read it. Wow, this is like a puzzle. It's like I'm giving myself a puzzle that I have to solve in real time. Okay, so we look at the code. Our Numenera internet brain begins to fire on all cylinders. You can see in our glowing blue eyes, there's almost like a holographic Cypher, that's like resting. Cypher not as in like the Cypher System, but like Cypher is in like a digital symbol, right? On our pupils, which is like rapidly changing and shifting, and it's almost like it's like a warp speed blazing through all different combinations of different of symbologies and like graphics, until it begins to decode the text in front of us. It's still a console that's in lockdown, so it still requires a bit of hacking, but at least we can now read it, which is definitely helping us here. So this was an 18. We've now turned it to we've now gone from 6 to 5. Nar says he can see the blue matrix. He is the one. The blue one. He's blue. Dabba dee, dabba die. Okay. So we started off as a 6, which was 18, which means this is now at a 5, which is a 15. And what else can we do? Machine interface. I can spend 2 intellect points. For 1 minute, you gain an asset on task to discern the level, function, and activation of technological devices you touch. Absolutely going to do that. So I'm going to spend 2 points, but it goes down by 1 because I have an intellect edge, so I spend 1. So this is bringing this down. This is an asset. So I think I can only get 1 asset on a check, right? 2 asset maximum per task. Okay. Oh god. Okay. So then we used our machine interface. This brings it down to a 4, which is a roll of a 12, and that is 1 asset. Then I'm like literally combing through my entire character sheet. I'm like eking out every possible advantage I have. Then I'm going to say I do have a risk computer, which is, it states is a knowledge asset. So perhaps I can use the building codes and the digital interface of the facility that I downloaded earlier on my risk computer to help me navigate through here. Maybe there is some, some coding in there that would help me understand how to get in through the terminal there. That seems like it's a decent enough asset to me. I have a risk computer that can interface directly with the Numenera console. That's pretty cool. So machine interface. Yeah, I'll say that. I'll say that counts. Used our risk computer hookup the whole time. By the way, while Jaizen and Devlin are like smashing this console, there's just sounds of robots being torn asunder and laser fire and like glaciopod hunger right outside. So this is one asset. So now we're at our max. This brings it down to a 3, which is a 9. We are definitely getting into very doable territory right here. So we can do 2 assets. We have a skill or a training. We do have, yeah, I definitely am going to spend effort 2, Nar, 100%. But I definitely have knowledge of the data sphere. I've trained myself in computers in the data sphere. So that's a training. So that is a -1. So training in the data sphere, which is a -1 for training. So that brings us down to a 2, which I think is a 6. Is it possible to reduce a check to 0? I don't think, wow. Okay. 1, 2. Decipher code, asset, training. Decipher code, asset, training. I think I might be able to get it down to a 1. With effort, I think I can get it down to a 1. So if I spend 3 points, so 8, 7, 6 -1 for my edge, which is 7, I can bring this down. So spend 2 points of effort. So that is a 1, which I think now is a 3. So yeah, we have literally combed through our entire character sheet, every possible asset we could get to take this nearly. And that's what's so cool about the system, by the way. Sorry to let me gush about the Cypher system for a minute. How cool is that, narratively speaking? Like we had a task which was narratively, incredibly difficult. We're trying to hack an alien computer, and because we built our character a certain way, we can like do it very easily. That's so cool. The system is very smart. I like the system. Okay, so I think that's everything, though. I can't use another point of effort. I can't add another training. Okay, I think this is it. So I'm going to clear this. I need to get a 3. I need to get a 3. Gotta be doable. Oh my god, please look. Please look at that number I just rolled. Please look. Because I did it, but it was just enough to still make me sweat. I reduced this challenge by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and I still only managed to succeed with a measly 1. I mean, I'll take it, but are you kidding me? Jesus. Or should I say the Omnisaya? Praise be to the Omnisaya. So yeah, I think, we are like smashing on this console. Devlin is like clicking fiercely, like, I can't get in, Jaizen. And on the outside of the door, you're hearing like clang, clang, and you're beginning to see the metal on the outside of the blast door beginning to like buckle and like crack, and you're beginning to see the points of a razor sharp frozen tooth, like begin to pierce the metal, and like, Jaizen! And like we can't even hear him. We're like in a trance, like our eyes are pretty much rolled into the back of our head as like our hands, our fingers are almost like on their own accord. They're communing with a power outside of ourselves, are just like furiously like on our wrist computer, and there's like symbols that are flashing at an incredibly high speed across the computer, and then nearby, you know, the large obelisks that are hanging. Oh shit. Well, maybe that's a question that we don't resolve in this exact moment. But we'll think about it, because remember, there's different entrances and exits with the portals, right? We learn that there's different ones. So who's to say that in our speed and our haste of turning this on, that we're also turning it on for the exact location that we want? You know what I mean? That's another question. But we do know that basically this thing, there's like a series of these things in the room, the gazing gates, and we run in front of the one that looks like the one that we entered, you know, however long ago. Like that one begins to spark and light with like new energy, and like begin to whir into life, and we're in a trance, and we're furiously typing on our wrist computer, and there's symbols flashing on the computer, and then Devlin's like, Jaizen, we gotta go. You know, like the obelisk is churning. Jaizen, it's time to go, and like the glaciopod is and like it's like almost like its entire head is like through the blast door now, but we are not disconnecting ourselves. We're like our brain, we're having like an out-of-body experience inside of the data sphere right now, communing with like alien technology. And finally, I think Devlin's like, Jaizen, I don't know, if just, and like grabs our shoulders like, we gotta run, and like pulls us off of the computer. There's probably some cables that like jettison out of our wrist computer like forcibly, and there's probably a spark, and like our head probably like, you know, our eyes kind of kick back. We probably feel like an electric jolt through our body. We release like a yelp of like pain and confusion as we're like cracked back into reality. And I think like, you know, we are rushing towards the spotlight of energy from the gazing gate, which is peering down into the center of the room, the teleportation chamber. Nar says, what's he doing? He's beginning to believe. As Devlin is like dragging me pretty much, in the heels of my boots are dragging. I haven't fully reconnected with my physical self yet. Drags us into the light of the gazing gate. We can see on the other side that the glaciopod tears through the steel, and we can just see like this massive maw like opening in our direction. And I think like probably the last thing we see, you know, like as like the light is flashing and we're not even sure if like we've fully activated it, we're like literally looking down this like gullet of like frosty ooze and like teeth, and then there's like a flash of energy and light, and then, you know, we can't see this, but on the other side, the glaciopod just chomps nothing but air as its head slams into the other side of the console chamber, and like we teleport away. We are whisked to relative safety for now, as we have just managed to turn on the teleporter in the nick of time and escape being swallowed whole by the glaciopod. And I think that is probably a perfect place to end this episode. As Loki says, quote of the day. Oh yeah, answer the quote of the day, y'all. While we're here, what's your favorite album? Well, album and artist lately. I'll give you mine if you give me yours. But yeah, I think that's a perfect place at the end of the episode. I think figuring out where Devlin and Jaizen have teleported themselves to, you know, after escaping the factory is like the perfect pickup point to start for the next session. And also, hilariously, very similar to the ending we just had for Firelights. Minor spoiler alert, if you haven't seen that Firelights episode, there were some teleportation shenanigans with an NPC. So apparently, the two things we can count on to happen in both of our playthroughs are giant worm monsters and teleportation shenanigans. Those will forever remain in our playthroughs. But dang, wow, okay. I am very glad I picked this game up again. I'm very glad I picked up the story again. I'm very glad I picked up the Cypher System again. I forgot how much fun it is, how cool it is. yeah, I'm very excited to have this playthrough back in the rotation. Also, Loki said this session was intense, very fun. Yes, I agree. You know, I was like, I kind of let the Cypher System go on the back burner on weeks where we had D&D and stuff because we only have 3 nights. But, you know, I think I definitely want to make it more regular. And everyone thank Nar, by the way, for not only being a great repository of information about how the game works as we've played tonight, but for being the person who inspired me to pick the game back up through our YouTube channel and our Discord server because they did. Because they cared about the series, and it made me care more about the series. So I'm very glad I picked this back up. I definitely will be playing another session because that was very fun. And I forgot how much I like Jaizen and his story and his weird Numeneran Terminator body that now has an arm hugger. But yeah, holy hell. I'm still I think teleporting away, discovering a new location. Well, I guess we don't know if we've discovered a new location yet. That may constitute us as getting more XP. So I'm gonna write that down on our campaign session notes. I'm gonna say possible new XP gain. Also, I guess I don't know what I would consider that scene. I guess that scene was out of control, right? That scene was definitely not in our control. We survived it. we made the best of what happened, but I definitely do not think that scene was like in our control. So I'm going to say the chaos factor has definitely increased by 1 again, I would say. So I'm going to mark the chaos factor back up to 6. There's another place I was checking my chaos factor, right? Yeah. Yeah, I would say the chaos factor is back up to 6 for now. To answer the question of the day, quote of the day, yeah, chaos factor going back up makes sense. I agree. Question of the day, album I've been listening to lately. Also, are you going to level up or advance? Also, are you going to level up or advance up? I should say this time. Oh, I see what you're saying. This time or at the beginning of the next session. What I may do, I don't think I'm going to level up now. I think I'm going to either level up at the beginning of the next session, or I might level up between sessions just to save everybody time, but like review what I've leveled up in the interim. Unless, Nar, you feel like you would like to see that level up process. I mean, you've already played the game, so you already are kind of familiar with how leveling up goes. So, you know, I could do it, and if you want to see it in case like I mess up, then you can definitely be privy to it. Otherwise, I was planning on probably leveling up between sessions, and then just reviewing the changes so we could get into the story. But if you feel really passionate about looking through, you know, how we're leveling up, we could do that too. I already have some ideas. I think a lot of advancements are probably going to be spent on Jaizen, his mutations. Maybe buying some more artifacts. We'll see. But yeah, definitely needs to start spending some things to increase his actual advancement so he can level up. But to answer the question of the day, the album I've been listening to a lot. I've been listening to actually 2 albums pretty routinely these past couple weeks, and they're both kind of like albums that are atypical for me, but I've been really enjoying them. I've been listening to, I think it's called Good. Is it Old Time Feeling? Old Time Feeling by S.G. Goodman. And I've been listening to Sierra Farrell's new album, which Sierra Farrell's new album is called. I can't remember. But if you look up Sierra Farrell, it's the one where she's wearing like a cowgirl hat. But basically they're both like alt country or like SG Goodman's album is like alt country, and Sierra's is like country jazz. It's like really weird. But they both are really fun, good albums. And yeah, I don't usually listen to like twangy stuff, but I like both of those albums a lot. They've been on heavy repeat for me. So I would recommend it. Yeah. So I think I will level up in between sessions and then update everyone when we meet what next happens with Jason's weird body. And those are my albums that I've been listening to lately. But anyway, thank y'all once again for joining me in this endeavor for the Cypher System Session 2. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun with this one, because I sure did. And I definitely am planning on continuing the story. I'm going to be honest with you. Devlin appearing back in the facility was 100% not seeing that. Like, in my mind's eye, I had such a narrative for Devlin where, like, we're hunting Devlin and we're, like, going across the world to, like, find out where he went and, like, figure out what he did. And it turns out he's just in here the whole time getting tortured. We pretty much just tripped over him as we were exploring. Man, it's so wild how these GM emulator tools can, like, take you in all these wacky directions. Very cool. Very exciting. Oh, Ailing, you're still in chat? I didn't realize you were still with us. Thank you so much for listening so long. And thank you, Loki, for donating a sub to the community. That is so appreciated. Yeah, all of you are so great. Yeah, that one interrupt scene was insane. I did not expect it. Oh my god. But I loved it. I love that the system forces you to think on your toes like that. It's nuts. Anyway, thank you all so much. You know, it's so crazy because I do these on weekdays because I try to keep my weekends open, you know, and I work until 6 most days, and sometimes, and I know I keep trying to hit like 7:30, and usually goes later because, like, sometimes it is so hard to motivate myself to, like, I just got off of work and I have to set up for stream. It becomes like such a Herculean task sometimes to get everything going. But every time I play, I end up having so much fun, and everyone is so cool, and I end up, like, it just reinforces how much I enjoy our community and getting to share these games with you. So, you know, I thank you for being the motivating factor for me whenever my mind and body is like, oh, it's too hard. You know, it's too much. No. Just suck it up, Wolf. Suck it up. Come hang out. But thank you so much for joining our playthrough today of the Cypher System by Monty Cook. It's episode 2. There will definitely be more. My usual spiel. Speaking of shut up, Wolf, just do it. Who is Wolf? Who is me? Who is I? Who am I? I'm Wolf Scott. I am your host, Dungeon Master and Storyteller, and Stream Lead of Level 1 Adventuring, which is the channel that you are watching right now. What is Level 1 Adventuring? We are a role-playing game and tabletop role-playing game channel, mostly tabletop, some video. We do solo games like you saw tonight. We do group games. We got campaigns for D&D. We got storytelling games like Follow Magic, a ton of stuff you can watch, and I really hope you stop by for more. I hope you stop by our other socials. I hope you stop by the YouTube, where you can see all the previous episodes, and if you missed the first episode of the Cypher System, which I did recap at the beginning, but I mean, if you want to see it happen in real time, you're going to have to watch it on YouTube now, because that was like one of the first things I streamed, so it is no longer on Twitch. But all of the new episodes will be there to watch as well, so you can follow along with Jaizen and Devlin and whatever other sci-fi hijinks they get themselves into as we continue our story. And also the Discord. Join us there. That's where I announce when we're streaming. You get notifications. We joke, we laugh, we dance, we kiss, we smooth, we carry on. What do you say? And we will be playing some games there together soon. If Vorpal and I, if Garrett and I have our way within the next couple of weeks. So join us there. Thank you, StreamSpell and StreamLabs, for the awesome digital effects that make our stream look fun and cool. Use our affiliate link down below if you want to benefit from that as well. And I think that is officially all I have to say. So with that being said, everyone who's still here in chat, you are the best. You are the champions, my friends. Bum, 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 bum. And I thank you. Piper thanks you, if you can see Piper on the edge of the couch now. Piper thanks you. I thank you. And we will see you the next session. There will be, I should mention, nothing going on until next week. I'm going on a 3-day, 2-day schedule, so I might only be on for 2 nights next week. We'll see. If I'm feeling really frisky, maybe 3. But there'll definitely be nothing going on until next Monday. So I hope to see you there, and we'll talk to you on all of our socials in the Disco in the meantime. Until then, as always, be well, be good, get some sleep, and I will see you very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your night, and adios, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.